Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Hey, Jules.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
It says recording.
Yes. We all survived by 2019, right? All right. So let's go ahead. We're gonna just jump right in here, guys. All right. Session 10. First off, let's talk really fast in regards to. I know that you guys received your mission. Good morning. Your mission homework for mission 10. Just true transparency. Please let me know. Was everybody able to watch the negotiating video that was attached in the mission?
No.
No. Okay. So you're going to want to make sure that you go back to that negotiating video because today we're talking about negotiate the deal, right? And in regards to negotiating the deal, that video is going to really give you the substance that you need, right, from this class, especially because we're going to be shortening this class up. I don't want you to miss out on that. Very important that you go back this weekend and watch that video. It's about 28 minutes long. So give yourself a half-hour time, but it's really great, okay? So make sure that you go back and do that if you haven't done it so far. For anybody who did watch the video, could you give like a tidbit or an aha that you got from it? Maybe nobody watched it. Nobody watched it. Okay.
No, I watched it.
You did?
Yeah, I like how to keep your emotions out of it.
Awesome. So that was your aha from that. Keep your emotions out of it, right? What are they? We got to stay even keeled with everyone. That's what our job is. Which sometimes is very difficult when we're passionate about what we're doing and we're passionate about our clients and getting them this deal. So we have to be there even keeled because they are very much emotionally attached as the buyer and the seller, right? Okay. Perfect. Anything else that anybody want to add? All right. So let's talk about this daily 10-4. How is everyone doing with their daily 10-4? Not all talk at once. Have you guys been able to get in? Talk to me about how many contacts we're making every single day. None? Did I hear none? Not enough. Okay, I was like, none? Let's talk about that. Not enough. Okay, tell me more about that. What do you mean by not enough? Okay, I hear that. Thank you for your transparency. This weather can do that, right? We've all kind of been like stuck inside and we're all boarded up and hunkered down, right? And we're just not feeling it. Got it. So life, right? That's real life. That happens. However, we have to always make sure that we're keeping our eye on the prize. What is the goal? Where do we want to be in 90 days from now? We want a paycheck in 90 days from now. It's from the activities that we're doing today. So when you say not enough, are you saying not enough based on this 10-4, or are you saying not enough based on your goals? Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else feeling this way? Give her some love. So tell me, who has been doing their daily 10-4? Who has been making the 10 contacts?
So I'm not good at putting it in there.
Okay.
So I'll be honest about that because I put it in at other places too. But I do, you know, my goal is at least 20 contacts a day, and that I've been fairly, you know, really pretty good with.
Okay.
I think part of it, I saw something yesterday was like, don't get bored, you know. So always think, if you think ahead and you plan ahead, okay, tomorrow, try to put it in your schedule. So even if, like you said, like you've got so many other things going on, even if it's 30 minutes or 20 minutes, have like know ahead of time what you're going to call, and that way when you can grab it, you know, you might get 2 or 3 people on the phone that you want to talk to if that didn't happen. Because so many, it's so easy to say, oh my gosh, I don't have that 2-hour or 3-hour window, and then it's gone. Then it's gone. I've done that so many times.
Right.
Where if I don't have that, I was like, oh, forget it.
And that's such an awesome point, Jackie, because the think about it. What the goal is to have how many contacts?
20.
A week, right? Or a month or a year, and we chunk it down to the day. So we think like, oh, if I don't have 2 hours to make my 10 contacts, I'm just not gonna do it at all. It doesn't make sense. Like, I love that, 20 minutes, in 10, 20 minutes, even make 3 contacts, take them off of your, your number. So if you have it right in front of you and become uber focused on that number, and you can check off those tick marks, it's 3 that it's almost like losing weight, right? If you want to lose 10 pounds, I only lost 2, I'm gonna stop, right? It doesn't make sense. Like, you're gonna just keep on compounding. It's the same exact concept. So when you're saying that you're doing your 10-4, you're doing your contacts, are you able to import any new ones into your database?
Yeah, so I sit down, usually a lot of times what I'll do is I know who to add to my database, and I'll sit down at night and add all those in there. I'm gonna keep making my calls during the day, and I make notations, and then I'll sit down at night and add them into my database.
And how are you doing with your handwritten notes?
Those not as well.
Not as well. Okay. So I would love to challenge you, because you're doing such a great job of making the contacts and inputting, to just go ahead and do that extra step of the handwritten notes. I would just love to see in 2, 3, 4 months from now, I would love to see if one of those stick, right? One of these things that we're contacting them, we're sending them a note, we're doing all of these activities, you're going to see it show up 3, 4 months from now.
Yeah.
So I would love, love, love to see. And again, same thing. The goal's 10. I get it. You can only write 3 or 4, then write 3 or 4. Don't just not write any. That's my goal. I'm the one up here in front of you telling you I have all intentions of doing 10 handwritten notes every single day. A lot of times it's only 3 or 4. However, those 3 or 4 have the handwritten note, and there's all the time that I'm getting text messages and emails from people. Thank you so much for sending me. Like, they literally take the time out of their day to thank me. I'm just gonna turn this on vibrate. That would have been super good. All right, perfect. Anybody else want to talk about 10-4? Has anybody felt themselves making this like a habit? Like, do you find yourself thinking about it? Thinking about it? Okay, I love that. That is what the whole point of this is. The whole point of us consistently and constantly talking to you guys about this 3 days a week over the whole entire month is for it to be top of mind and it to become a habit. So if it becomes a habit from the get-go, from right now, from January 1st, to make the calls, to add to the database, and to do the handwritten notes, and you consistently can do this, right, over and over again, then you just want to make sure that you're going to consistently do this through the year. And I don't know, some people will know this about me. I will come up and ask you about this in like June. So be prepared for me to ask you questions months from now on what your activities are going like in the summer versus what they're doing right now in January. Okay? All right, perfect. So I know a couple people just walked in late. I just want to give a synopsis again. I do apologize that we had to cancel on Wednesday due to the weather. We had to shut down. Everybody wanted to keep everybody safe. So we are actually combining today with session 10 and session 11 because I wanted to be respectful of your time and make sure that you guys graduate on your big nights. And for us to stay on track, this is what we had to do. So we're going to just be rolling everything a little bit different today. I am going to be combining both sessions together. Never done that before. However, we're going to do it. We're going to get through it. I'm going to keep you guys an hour extra. Don't worry, you'll get an extra break. We are probably not going to be making calls today, though. So I'm going to need you guys to make sure that you adjust your schedule so that if the calls that we're going to make today during class, you're going to have to make them either after class or tomorrow. Because we have to, for us to be able to finish all of this material in the 4 hours, we definitely need to not do calls. And there's going to be some exercises that we're going to do today. Some of them we're going to have to shorten up the time that we're going to work on them, and others I might have you guys do that for like homework with a peer partner on your own time. Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone knows what kind of we're walking into and what we're doing, and just be super nice to me because I'm going to talk really fast probably for a lot of this so that we can get through all the material. If I am going too fast, just raise your hand and say, Val, I don't get that, can you go over that again? Okay, and I will stop and we'll go over it. But just so that you know, I'm not rushing anybody, I just wanna make sure everyone realizes that I am staying on a very much tight schedule. All right, perfect. So, we are going through, again, like I said, we are not gonna be making calls today. However, I wanna make sure that everybody puts it into their schedule for either later on today, or you might have to do an hour tomorrow on a Saturday. I know, everybody, all right, you have to work around Saturday and do a call or two. So make sure you put that into your calendar, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna get out of this because you guys just told me that nobody was really entering them in here, so I'm not even going to do that. So we are gonna negotiate the deal. And we are at get your head in the game. So, negotiating the deal. Your ability to negotiate will directly influence your rate of contracts that you close. Does everybody get a little like, was the stomach hurt a little when they read that sentence? When I read that sentence, so it directly influences your rate of contracts that close. So we're doing all the activities, making the calls, making the contacts, setting out the handwritten notes, right? And then we're making the appointments, so we're getting the appointments. And then we're getting those listings, we're taking the listings, or we're taking the buyer. And now we get into the contract points, and now we're like, oh man, we're so close to the end, we're almost there. And this right now is the most important part to get you all the way to that closing table, to get to that commission, right? So that's why you're saying. So when you look at it, you have your leads, right, that we talked about, then your appointments, then your agreements, and now we're at your contract phase. So during this offer phase, with the goal of getting the contract, there's an option period while under contract with the goal of closing the contract. That doesn't make sense, but we'll just go with it. So investing, you're gonna invest, like we just talked about, you're investing so much of your time and energy to get your clients to this point that this is where we don't want to lose them. We want to keep them, and we want to make sure that they are happy to get to that closing table. So a negotiation is a bargaining. It's a give and take process between two or more parties, each with its own aims, needs, and viewpoints, seeking to discover a common ground and reach an agreement to settle a matter of mutual concern or resolve a conflict. It's a very, very large, long definition of what negotiation is. So in our world, a negotiation is, there's a house for sale, it's on the market for $200,000. Somebody offers $180,000. Somebody wants $200,000, and we have to make everybody come together in the middle and be happy. It's plain and simple. Just giving you an example. Okay. In real estate, negotiations occur between the agents, and then we are representing our agent, our clients, right? So you're going to have a buyer's agent representing the buyer, and a seller's agent representing the seller. Each have their own client's interests at heart. Each are probably, Yvonne, right, emotionally attached to their clients, right? And they are just as headstrong, and I want to get this, for my client, just like how they are. The first thing I'm going to say is, and I feel like I think I read it somewhere in here. In negotiations, you can be nice and make a statement at the same time. Does that make sense to everybody? You can hold your ground for your client and also be a nice and kind person. Sometimes I feel like in this industry that some people feel that they have to be a different type of a person to make you think that they are more headstrong with their clients. That is not true. And I will say, in my experience, that being a nice agent and also looking out for my client's best interests has gotten me further with the other side than be putting up a hard front. Meaning, this is what you're getting. If you don't like it, then take it or leave it and see you later. That is not what I'm finding working out in this market right now. So, if anybody give an example I know I have a couple agents who are out there who have done this. Go ahead, Jack.
I have a really fresh one from yesterday. I had a closing yesterday. And my clients were older clients and turned out to be hoarders. And as many suggestions that we offered, as much as we tried to help them get so that they can move out in the 10 weeks that the buyer was nice enough to give them, the house was still full on Tuesday.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because I'm sure even they still don't think that we were that we were looking out for their best interests, but it closed yesterday.
Okay.
And so by just anticipating, what I find is like, not only into knowing what was important to my clients, but also when you're in that negotiation, what's important to the other client. Because if you're trying to make that win-win and you know what's their key thing, you can help make that happen. And the rest of the stuff won't even matter. And when we sat down at the closing table, that's exactly what happened. So not only I had somebody lined up to walk through with us and the buyer's agent at the final walkthrough to give us an estimate on what it will cost to clean out the house, because we told the sellers they're not giving you any post-closing possession. What we're going to have to do is hold back money so that they're going to be in charge of the clean out. So he was there so that they knew we had a plan in place. So the buyer felt so much better when we got to the closing table. And then there were a lot of items that were not done on the repair request. When we sat down with that, that's where I was really like, oh, this is going to fall apart now. Really just talked to her, and it came out that she was like, I don't care about the rest of this. I care about this one issue.
Okay, perfect.
And then we dealt with that one issue, and we closed the deal, and
I got it verified.
But it would have been very easy especially for the buyer's agent to walk in and headstrong for her client. And she was great. She really was great. She just listened. So did the attorney. Just listened to what the buyer said. The buyer really wanted this house. So really listened to what she said. And then the seller's attorney and myself were like, all right, the seller got up, or the attorney got up, called the seller, who was by now we're dealing with the son, luckily, and just called them and said, it closed, 3.5 hour closing, but it closed.
Awesome.
Was the seller there?
No, they were still home packing.
So you said a lot of awesome things in there, and the main thing that I wanted to really zone in on is you said that you had to find out what was important to your clients, right?
Yeah.
So the way that we find out what is the most important to our clients is we ask questions, right? And then we have this thing, an acronym here, it's called WAIT. And it means 2 ways, meaning you ask a question to the client and then you wait. And instead of them saying something and you responding, you wait a little longer and you think to yourself, why am I talking? Right? Why am I talking? It doesn't have anything to do with me as the agent. It is 0. It is 100% has to do with your client and what your client needs and what they want. Because what I find to be important and what me personally think is important might not be important to my clients. So why am I talking, right? Ask the question, getting what they need and what they want. What is most important to you in this? If you're on the buy side and it's most important for them to be in the home at a certain time, okay, great. Now I know that. So now they might be able to put a higher offer in, but just have a shorter closing. What is most important to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? For me to have a backyard with a fence. That is the most important thing. So you can utilize this weight in every aspect. I actually utilize it with my husband. I utilize it with my kids. Why am I talking? Listen to what they're saying to understand. And the reason why I say that is you're going to take what you heard way back when you do a pre-consult, right? When you're sitting down with the buyer, when you're sitting down with the seller, if you listen to what their motivations are and what is important to them, you're going to be able to pull from that when you get to this negotiating table. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's so many times where you have a buyer that comes to you and they say, I need to get in by March 1st. This is what I want. I want a new house, I want it updated, don't want us to spend any money, I wanna get it in, and I wanna be less than $250,000. I took all of this information, now we're at a negotiating table, they have a house that they're putting an offer on, and it's $245,000, it's all new, it's got everything that they want, and they're sitting there, we're in negotiating, right, and they put an offer in for $230,000, the house is at $245,000, so now we're going back and forth, seller side, buyer side. And my buyer was, I want to spend more than $235,000. I hear that. I understand where you're coming from. Let me ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you told me when we talked about 6 weeks ago that you said you wanted to stay under $250,000, which this house is, correct? Yeah. You said you wanted it fully remodeled. Yes. Correct. It is. Yeah. And you said you wanted to make sure that you were in there by March 1st, correct? Yes. So this, right now, where the seller is at this house, is all those things. We're gonna meet all your needs. So let me ask you, are you willing to spend $240,000 on it, or are you only willing to go up to $238,000 and you won't leave that number? And when you start putting that back into perspective, back to them, I mean, at the end of the day, they realize without me telling them, like, hello, why are you being so headstrong about $2,000? Like, right, you don't want to say that to them. They go, you're right, we can get a house that we want, it's under the $250,000, we can get in there by March 1st, go ahead, yeah, let's go ahead and do that $240,000. No, I didn't do that. I'm still looking out for my client's best interest, even though they're spending $2,000 more on the house. The reason why I'm looking out for my client's best interest is, number one, we're getting to the goal that they wanted, which is to get in the house by March 1st. Number two, it's under $250,000. Number three, I know where the market is right now, and I know that the market value of this house is worth the $240,000. So I'm not having them overpay for a home. It's not like that, right? So sometimes they get all stuck up in like I need to get it for this amount of money. And at the end of the day, like it's like $11 a month on your mortgage, you know, $10 a month more. You know, do you want to spend a Starbucks coffee more every month on your mortgage? Or do you want to get in the house of your dreams and get in there in a couple weeks? I got my Fitbit, I'm going to totally make my 10,000 steps today too. So you guys want to make sure that when we're in a negotiation back and forth, that you bring your client's best interest always at the top of the thing and bringing back to them what their motivation is. And wait, I'm telling you, this right here has helped me in a lot of things in life. So why am I talking? All right, so we're going to watch a quick video about negotiating. And this is Josh Anderson, still a big guy here at KW.
Hi, I'm Josh Anderson from Nashville, Tennessee. I've been with Keller Williams since 2006. In 2014, we did about 200 transactions for about $60 million a month. I grew up on a farm, so I've always seen my dad negotiating land and cows and horses. Being the youngest of four, I'm trading and negotiating all growing up. So I've kind of done it all the time. But some people are certainly gravitate toward it and are naturally better at it than others. But I think that negotiation can definitely be learned. I think there's a lot of skills that go into being a great negotiator. I think it's learning your client. Instead of kind of assuming that you know what's important to them, really asking a lot of questions and letting them tell you what they need or want, and then speaking to the other agent and finding out what's most important to their client. And there's some agents that just don't get any. When I have an agent that I'm dealing with that's very tight-lipped, I just keep asking questions, and they give me information that they might not have otherwise given, whether it's a divorce or a death, or it's just they got relocated to some other city. And I think if you're really listening and being intentional and purposeful about listening, you'll find out exactly what's important to them or what they have to have. In certain situations, you have to be creative. We're always looking for that next little tip to help our clients out. and win the deals. One of the techniques that we use a lot that's worked well for us is the escalation clause. For example, if the property is listed at $250,000, we might go in at $250,000 with strong terms, and in special stipulations, we might put in there that we're willing to beat the next best documented offer by $1,000 up to $263,000. And the best offer might be $261,000, so we end up getting it for $262,000. From a client standpoint, be willing to have a real conversation with your clients. It's not us just being realtors for them, it's us consulting and advising and really telling them, if you really want this property, here's what you have to do to get it. Everybody's got a different way of how they would negotiate. And networking with other Keller Williams agents around the country, the more you hear it, the more ideas you get. And then you end up gearing it towards you and what you think is going to work best for you and your clients. A lot of it comes down to experience, and I think the more deals you do, the more comfortable you get with it. If you step back from every transaction and learn something, you're going to get really good over time.
All right. So what did you guys hear during that? Anybody hear something that triggered something, or maybe you have a question about something that you heard? I have Annie first and then Laura. Go ahead.
You asked a lot of questions the other evening. I just had this situation. Really good to speak.
I got it.
And we had an inspection and there were structural issues, foundation issues. Before I had my clients spend money on having, a structural engineer come out, and my seller was even, entertain any of those requests. The agent was just approved everything. Just so you know how this works, first you send over written requests and then you determine, just so you know you don't want to see this report. Like a lot of agents don't understand that aspect of it either. But if you're a new agent, they talk to you like you're an idiot. So, but just like asking questions and his smart remarks were helping his case, honey. So now he has contract. So
Right. So when we went back to the beginning, what I was saying, like it's you can get a lot further a lot of times with a contract if you're just nice and not a rude agent. So I love, there's one thing I did here. Go ahead, Laura, you said you wanted to.
Basically, I was gonna say the same thing, ask a lot of questions, and also, I'm just finding out about the escalation clause.
Yeah.
So I will be using that in the future to, do the highest and best offer. And then networking with other Keller Williams agents. I mean, we have a website that we can ask questions on and always get an answer from different agents.
Yes. So that is a really great way to do it. I find a lot of information on KW Connect. You just literally go on there and go in the search bar and you can literally write in their escalation clause, and there's going to be videos and everybody's different files that they've uploaded. You can also go on just Google it. If you just put on like escalation clause KW, it's amazing how many YouTubes are out there and Pinterest boards and everything else that you can find for KW. So that's a really great. Does everybody know? I know Marla Good. I think it was last year that she was using escalation clauses to win almost like every deal that she was on the buyer side. It works really well when we're in a market that has a lot of highest and best offers. And we're gonna come back to that market real soon. So, go ahead, Jim.
No,
And I wanted to say, I wrote down that if you really wanted the property, this is how you'll get it. Because oftentimes the buyers feel like they're the only one like looking at the house or something. It's like, no, there are other people that will put offers on. So if you really want it, all the ones I ever closed on, I'm like, how bad do you want the house? Because your little offer, you need to come up a little because there's other people out here looking at the same house. They like it just as much as you. So, and they end up getting the homes, but they don't really realize like you're not the only one coming inside this house. So
Right,
that's
so creating that
important.
urgency with
Yes,
them, that making them, I mean, a lot of houses, how you go in and they have the pile of cards on the kitchen counter. I always make a reference to that. If I'm in a house and I can feel that this buyer is liking this house, and I will always go by and nonchalantly just say, oh wow, I can't believe how many people looked at this house recently, and then just keep walking. and showing them the rest of the house. It's just for them to realize, like, this is how many, I mean, if there's 7 cards on the table, 7 other buyers looked at this house. How much do you want this house, right? That this is what your goal is, and I know as your agent that this is the market. I'm not gonna have you overpay, however, we wanna position you so that we make sure that we get this house for you. When they were talking about asking a lot of questions from the co-op agent, this is also very, very important because I had an experience, this is years ago, about 7 years ago, and the house was on the market for $350,000, and my clients did not even have their house up on the market yet, and they wanted this, they had to have this house. They loved this house. It's a big, huge house in Midlothian Country Club. They wanted to raise their 4 boys there. Okay, great. So then, of course, and this is always what it is, I love the house, we want the house. Great, how much do you want to go in on offer? We want to go in with a $330 offer. I was like, you want to go in for a $330 offer on a $350, house, and your house isn't even on the market yet. We're contingent on sale, and we're doing a 90-day close. Okay, so now, what do I have to do as the agent? I know that this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not good. This is, how am I going to do this? How am I going to talk to this other agent and show them this offer of $20,000 less, closing in 90 days, and contingent on sale of a house that I don't even have up on the market yet?
Were there any other options?
There was not as of yet. So I went in and I had a nice listing agent on the other side. And so I started having a conversation with that listing agent before I even put the offer together, and just started talking, asking questions. I see the house, I see it's on the market, it's really big, it's outdated, it needs some updating. Can you tell me a little bit about the house, the sellers? She's very open. Yes, the seller was a divorce. They raised their family there. She's lived there by herself now. It's just too big of a home for her. They did rehab it and put an addition on about 20 years ago. So the back half of the house is it's 20 years old, so on and so forth. Oh, gee, and then somehow, okay, I started talking about the family. Well, they have 4 boys, and they want to live in a big home like this. They want to stay in the school district. They live there. Then she says, oh my gosh, she's a teacher in the school district, so on and so forth. So now all this is going on, this conversation. I'm just having a conversation and asking questions, but I'm listening to every single thing that this agent is doing. So when I prepared the entire contract, we went in with the whole premise of, I wrote up a nice little email with the offer that said, please present this to the seller. And it was essentially that they live in the district, they want to keep their 4 boys in the school district and raise their family here. They love this family home. They know how much time and love that you put into this house. We went all into this family, right? And I said, oh, here we go. Can't wait to see what they say. They accepted the offer. They accepted $330, 90 days out, contingent on sale of a house that I literally went and put up on the market at like 11:59 p.m. the next night to get it up on, so that we can be like, yeah, this is part of the contract and then be up on the market. Again, what was important to the seller? Family, schools, that she needed the extra time. So me as the agent, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, 90 days is too long. We can't ask for 90 days. The seller needed the 90 days because she is packing up 30 years of memories in life and wanted to hold on to every single last minute. I wouldn't have known that unless I would have asked questions and listened. So that's why we're saying when you guys do that wait, why am I talking? So when I was asking these questions to this agent, I zipped my lip and just listened, right? Just listen. All right, well, Laura's here. She's gonna come in and help me out here. Because
I'm here for about an hour.
yeah. So we are gonna talk
We're gonna
about,
speed this class along because we're doing 2.
yes,
But what I was gonna mention, exactly, we could speed the negotiation class along because exactly what she said is exactly all you really need to do. You need to ask a lot of questions and listen and just don't have any big notions.
definitely. So Laura, if you don't mind, I'm gonna just have you step in right now from this page. It's negotiation tips, discussing negotiation tips, common points of negotiation. And then, okay. Thanks.
All right, all right, really, basically, you know, because we are gonna speed this along a little, and I don't want it to get too long-winded on this class, because the next class is really good, the contract to close. I mean, basically, we've talked about this already, so I don't know if there's a whole bunch to really, pick up on here, except for maybe this continually refer back to motivation in the middle. I think is always really important. Why you wanna buy the house, why you wanna sell the house, Mr. Seller, whichever side it is, always refer back to why are they moving? Oh, we wanted to get to Florida, to be with your grandchildren by April, then we better get moving now because we're already February 1st. And so I would say that that's really a big part. Val already touched on a lot of other stuff. We go to the next page. Prepare, present, position. She kind of talked about it already. If you guys have any questions, because I'm going to go a little fast, just stop me and say, hey, Laura, what the heck do you mean by prepare, present, position? If you have a question, just stop me and say, hold on. Okay. Next page. Okay, so 14 is the 3 Ps, the prepare, present, position. So let's do this real quick. Under 1, prepare, know your goal, know your clients, think ahead, set clear expectations. Expectations is a big thing that I talked about in the next class. Setting up expectations ahead of time really saves your life in every area of real estate. It really does save a lot for you. Because when you set up expectations to the seller or to the buyer of what's potentially could happen, you don't want to give them every bad scenario that's possible. However, you want to let them know that, hey, this is, you know, maybe we could have some bumps in the road. However, you have to make them feel really comfortable. Don't worry, I've been here before. I'll get you through it. I'm gonna be here every step of the way with you. So I think setting clear expectations is really important. With the buyer, hey, I'm gonna go and give it my best shot with this offer. However, like Val talked the story, you know that it's 20,000 under their asking price and your contingent. We may get a counter. That's setting expectations. I'm Mrs. Seller. I know this is, you know, 20,000 under what you wanted. However, you need some time to move out, to pack up, and they're giving you that time. See how you just turned that around? Julie?
Yeah, just one of the things I'm hoping that you'll talk about is that in a multiple offer situation, the need based on financing to prepare people that the highest dollar amount is not necessarily the best deal.
True. Okay. It could be the situation, again, is she needed that 90 days, which we wouldn't know because we have the seller. But let's say you had the seller. Say you were the seller's agent, you were talking to the seller, and you knew that she really wanted a little extra time. Well, I know Mrs. Seller, this is 20,000 under what you wanted. However, you need a little bit of time to get packed up and move to go to wherever you're going. You haven't even found a house yet. So this is great that they're going to be giving you that time. So yes, it's not always about the money. It's about the circumstances. The only way you're going to know that is to ask a lot of questions and be prepared.
And then do you do anything in particular to, during this part where you're setting clear expectations, do you talk about appraisals?
Yes.
Okay.
On both sides. So on the buyer's side, hey, Mr. Buyer, I know you feel like maybe you're offering a little bit more than you wanted. However, you know the house has to appraise out. So when the bank comes and does an appraisal, you're offering 180. If it appraises for 170, then the majority of the time, not always, but the majority of the time, the seller's going to come down to the appraised value. They're going to usually have to, and they usually will, not always. Hey, Mr. Seller, you know what? I know you want 180 for this house. However, market analysis shows it should sell for about 170. So, okay, the buyer came up to your 180, but you have to be prepared, Mr. Seller, for that appraisal that's going to come because it could appraise at 170 and you're going to need to come down. So that's where you're going to set expectations on both sides. You always spin the conversation whoever you're talking to, you know, which side you're going to go with it. However, you'll have that same conversation with both sides.
Yeah. Question, if it appraised for 170, do you go with that bank's appraisal or can you still negotiate the 170? Can the buyer negotiate past that or below that?
Well, not below it. The buyer could choose to come up with cash and pay over appraised value. However, I've never had a buyer do that yet. It could happen. It could certainly happen. I've never had it happen yet.
I was just saying, I've been personally in meeting with my own now, actually, with an appraisal issue in the house that I sold last year. The difference was conventional FHA buyer. When we sold our last house, it was a $12,000 difference. We got in the middle because they were able to do that. They had,
Right.
FHA, they're not, it's way more tricky once you have an FHA buyer in that situation. A lot of times they don't have the money.
Right.
And the bank is a lot more strict on letting them bring extra money to them.
Right, so you're saying the second one was conventional, the first one was FHA?
Last house we sold was conventional, we were able to meet in the middle
Got
and
it, yes.
make it work.
It
Yes.
has to be a conventional loan.
Yeah.
IHA, they
Yes.
sign off saying they will not.
And
they will not
you'll
allow
have that happen, it's not often, it'll happen, of course, I've also appealed appraisals and won. They were clearly wrong, and so we won on that one, most of the time you don't win on it. So there are some options you can do if it doesn't appraise out. But the whole conversation here was setting that expectation up ahead of time. Because certainly it's kind of easiest if the appraisal comes in at 170 and everybody, the seller says, okay, fine, I need to move, let's just move on. Because doing the appeal process takes a while. Trying to get the buyer to come up to meet in the middle is another conversation. Certainly can have that conversation. But the majority of the time, the buyer's gonna be like, no, price for 170, they're happy, they're cheering. They're like, hey, I get it cheaper. Okay, so, we're on 16.
So, this one, we're gonna, like I said,
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
have to
be,
speak through some of it,
right,
yeah.
so, there, did you read this one already?
No,
All right, so this is a scenario. You are representing a single buyer. Your client is renting her present property. Like any first-time buyer, she is looking to you to guide her through the process. The asking price for the home she really loves is $175,000. The house appears to have evidence of a roof leak, is listed as is, and is correctly priced. Your client would like to keep her payments as low as possible since she still has a number of student loans to pay off. She wants to write an offer for $155,000. There has been quite a bit of activity on the listing. So let's just have like a quick conversation. What would be some things that you would say to the buyer in regards to this for this negotiating time? Just from a couple of examples that we've already talked about. Go ahead and yell them out. Somebody tell me something that they would say. Are you willing to lose the house for $20,000? Okay, that's a great one.
Point out what that house has that was on her must-have list.
Perfect. So maybe something like, what about the house is what is it about this house that makes it your favorite? Why did you choose this one to write the offer on? Right, bringing them back to why they want the house.
Would you go back to a dollar amount, say $20,000 over 30 years is X amount of money?
I use that tactic a lot, especially now with their interest rates the way they're at. So,
do you guys all understand what she just said, what she's talking about?
so if for every $10,000 is probably about $65, $75 a month difference in their mortgage payment for every $10,000. So when you have a buyer and a seller and you're negotiating and you're representing the buyer, are they willing to give up their favorite house and what they loved about this house for $75 a month difference? Or if it's only a $5,000 difference, it's $35, $37 a month. Which a lot of times when you're in negotiating, it really does come down to that $5,000. I mean, very rarely am I negotiating 20s and 10s. It's more of like this whole 5,000. And I sometimes am just like knocking my head off of like, why are we really? Don't go out to dinner one night. Right? They get so they're somehow and they also, you gotta remember, a lot of buyers have, I don't want to say mom and dad, however, it's a lot of times mom and dad and aunts and uncles and grandparents going, why are you spending more than that? If it's listed for that, then you go and you give them 20 grand less and you don't budge. Right? Do they even have a clue how much the market where that kid is looking? No, they don't even know that house, like I said right here, it's correctly priced correctly. You also might want to bring forth that information by showing them other homes. So almost doing a CMA, doing the comps, just like you would for the listing, you're doing the comps for the buyer to show them, look at these other houses. These are the 4 down the street that just sold in the last couple months. Here are the ones that are still on the market for this price. and show them that this house is truly worth $175,000. Any other things? that
You know, it brought up a thought in my mind. One of the things I really like to do, I do talk to the listing agent as much as possible ahead of time. Sometimes you'll get them completely closed mouth, they won't talk to you at all, and that happens. However, the majority of the time they'll talk to you a little bit. One of the questions I always ask is I try to get a sense of the seller's negotiating style. So I ask them, you know, just so I can know how to go forward here so we all have a win-win situation. Can you tell me, do you think your seller likes to bargain back and forth, or are they kind of a bottom line type of a person? And I get their feedback if they know on what they think, and they say, you know, my guy, he's a car salesman, he's that, and he loves to bargain back and forth. Now I know, and I can go back to my buyer. I always also want to hear their style a little bit too, how they like to negotiate. Some people don't like to negotiate, others do. I let them know that I love to negotiate, and I do. We're buying a car, and I tell my husband, go over there, so I can handle this. I'm like, go wait over there. You're gonna give away our price point here. you wait over there. Let
Will
me
you
get
go
those.
on car buying appointments?
How we used to, not anymore. But anyway,
Laura, that's really good, regarding just trying to find out the seller's negotiating style. Because not even thinking about that, but one of my sellers, he's in the Army, he's been in the Army, he licensed for 30 years. And he is just, oh my God, he will not budge at all. It's like, you know, and so the house has been on the market for a very long time, and we've reduced it, but you know, it leaves a whole lot of updating. And he's like, well, do they know what they're getting? And I'm like, yeah, they do. He was like, well, I'm not changing the price again. The buyer will come along. I'm like, but you're wasting all of this time and money, so I'll think about that.
And you really do have to, you know, look at that as the agent when you're dealing with your own seller and your own buyer. How are you negotiating with them almost, right? Because there are going to be times that's essentially what you're doing. I just went through it myself with a seller, and to be honest, I didn't get it during the pre-consult. I didn't get this vibe from them at all, and then we got an offer, and then all of a sudden they turned completely different to how they were when I met with them. And so it threw me off, to be quite honest, and I ended up almost like sounding like I was defending the offer, you know, and I'm like, well, I'm a listing agent. Wait a minute, like I was so like, that's how combative they were, right? So I'm like, wait, I'm not supposed to be being like this with my own clients, you know? So you really have to be aware of that. And just learn how to kind of mirror and match like what's going on. So if you have somebody from the Army, you want to make sure that you talk to them just like that. Go through it with them.
that brought up another thought. Be careful not to get emotionally involved in the negotiation process.
Yeah, we said that again.
Yeah, you're not buying a house. You're not selling a house. And listing agents will get all upset with you. Well, you know, we just put on market and I'm like, okay, is it your house? Calm down, relax, chill, you know, take yourself out of it. And then always be your client's advocate, whether you agree with it or not. So on the seller side, you could be like, oh, Mr. Seller, I understand where you're coming from. You know, I have a lot of clients that felt exactly the way you felt in this kind of a circumstance. You know, Mr. Seller, I just want us to take a step back because, you know, let's calm down and relax and let's get this negotiated out to the highest price possible. Because what my clients have found that if they take their time, take some of the emotions out, that we're able to negotiate this to a point that is acceptable for both the buyer and seller. So you're using the feel, felt, found. Understand how you feel. Had many clients who felt the same way. Here's what they found out. And so you've got to try to pull their emotions out a little bit. Just stick the pin in the balloon and just let it arrow.
I know that the next thing to talk about is nonverbal cues. I feel that this is very difficult for us in this time in the markets. I know a lot of this stuff in Ignite is talking about doing this style in front of people. I know I do not present offers in person.
We used to.
We used to.
We used to go to their kitchen table.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
buyer's
and then be on the
agents.
phone.
Yeah, and there would be the sellers and the listing agent and us. And we'd sit at their kitchen table. It was such a happy day. Because then I could present person and I could look them in the eye and I could help talk them into the offer.
So when we're talking about
Those are the old days.
nonverbal cues, we're talking about if they are face-to-face. So this is on that next page, page 18. So obviously, when you're face-to-face, you can use this stuff now with your own buyer and your own seller. Because a lot of times you are putting together, right, their stuff at that time. So you can sometimes do that, nodding, reality, yeah, they're obviously agreeing with what we're saying. Sitting back, closing their arms, probably not liking what I'm saying at that time. And just really reading into that. I find in negotiating, especially with married couples, that you get the opposite, right? So, and you have to play, you literally have to like skate around and hit both of them, because you can't ignore one. I don't care if one is supposedly the decision maker and one isn't. You have to still play to both of them. And a lot of times you're gonna have one, like Laura here, who's the negotiator and wants to get that deal and go. And her husband's probably like, whatever, just give me the house. I just want the house, right? Like you're always gonna have that. And so you have to kind of go along that line to make sure that you're meeting both of their needs, both the seller's needs or the buyer's needs. So I'm dealing with it right now where I've got the wife who, she doesn't, it's a pretty kitchen, it's white. Stainless steel appliances, so she's ready to move in. And then the husband, who's literally stickling for the $2,000. He wants his house for $2,000 less, and he doesn't really care if they move out. They're gonna go find something else. Like, we're gonna get it for $2,000 less. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, how do you go about,
You know what I would do there?
really making sure that you're meeting both of them?
You know what I would do there? This might not be the right thing to do, but I'm gonna tell you the truth anyway. This is what I would do. I'd be on the phone with the wife, talking to her, and somehow I put a little bug in her ear of how she's gotta be the one to go sell her husband on it, really. Because if she does what she needs to do to sell him on it, then maybe we'll get this deal through. See, that's what I would do. I'd be like, because here's the thing, they hire us to negotiate for them. People don't like to negotiate. Does anyone not like to negotiate? I was gonna say you're in the wrong profession then. And if you're uncomfortable with it, just get comfortable with it, because this is fun. This is great. I love this part of it. This is just really exciting. And I let people know that, because most people don't like to negotiate. And that's why buy owners, if you're talking to a buy owner, they're at a disadvantage because they're face to face with that buyer, and that buyer's trying to negotiate face to face with them, and they don't like that. So they hire us to do this. So I tell my clients straight out, whether I'm working with the buyer or seller, but more so maybe with the seller, I tell them, listen, I'm a bulldog when it comes to negotiations. I'm gonna fight for every dollar I can get for you that's possible with what our market is showing us. So I let them know right up front, I'm going after it, because they don't want you to be aggressive, they want you to be assertive. They want to know that you're taking care of them, that you're gonna work hard for them. And if they know that they're being taken care of and you're gonna do your best job for them, it really lets their guard down a lot, and they'll trust you more.
And you could be assertive and a nice agent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to that a few times, because I feel like that's getting a little bit lost sometimes out in our view.
Yeah.
On the phone, this is it is harder to get cues on the phone. You're gonna wanna hear like sighing, you're gonna wanna hear, I'll hear a lot of times in their throat, that means they wanna say something and they don't know how to say it, so I have to figure out where are they going with this, what are they not telling me, so I want to try to get that out of them. You want to make sure that if the other side is upbeat and excited, you want to mirror and match that, right? You want to go with it. So when we're talking to the wife who's excited about the kitchen, and we go, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're going to get this house, it's going to be so great, this is so perfect for you guys. And then the husband's in the background, you're always on speaker. And then he's kind of like, all right, so are we gonna get this for $238? And then I gotta switch it that fast. Be like, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna tell them exactly what we're doing, we're gonna give you this house. Just know that I will not ever let you overpay for a home. We're not gonna let you overpay for this house. So we'll get you the house for exactly what the market is. And what you said earlier, that was a great line that you said about we're gonna get you the most money that what their market allows.
Right.
That's a perfect line to use.
Well, and we all say, it's not worth what you think, it's not worth what I think, it's worth what a buyer's willing to pay and a bank's gonna appraise it for. That's ultimately in the bottom line. And I always tell my sellers, the market's showing us, the market's telling us. Or the buyer, hey, the market's telling us, you guys have seen 10 houses with me. The market's showing us this is a great price for this house. it's overpriced. And I'll tell my buyers that right from the get-go too. I'll say, listen, I'm not gonna love and like every house, you know, just to sell you one. I'm gonna do that market analysis for you, and we're gonna make sure that you're not overpaying. Because again, it's all setting up that expectations up front. If you gain their trust by showing that you're a professional and that you're gonna take care of them, and you're gonna watch out for their best interest up front, they'll trust you so much more and they'll listen to you. If they feel like they don't trust you, they're gonna be like, I ain't 220, I ain't gonna listen to you. You don't really have my best interest at heart. You know, but if they trust you, they're like, well, what do you think? Do you think 220 is okay? Well, the market's showing us this house should be about 225. We can give it a shot at 220, but I think we should expect that we're gonna have to move up to 225. Again, set those expectations.
And going back to, you guys are doing the daily time 4, right? And the reason why the fourth piece to that, after your calls, your database, and your handwritten notes, is to preview homes. Or, and it doesn't have to be in person, but to preview them on the MLS, to learn that. So now you can be the market expert when you're out looking. You should have that number already in here. You know that you're showing the houses that are split levels, that have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a 2-car garage, and you know, Tinley Park and Oak Forest. You should be able to know when you're out and about looking at the house, and they're looking at them and they're like, we really like this one. What do you think that we should start at? You should be able to have that information on what that market is going for that type of a house. You should just have that. Not that you're gonna not look at it, you're gonna go and research it. However, you should know that information. And the only way to do that is to continuously just preview homes on MLS and learn it. Go ahead, Jen.
Also, when you pull up to a house, just pull your app up.
There you
Do
go.
Nearby homes, it refreshes you, it gets you right there, you know, you're like, okay.
Yeah, if you don't have it, like, you're like, oh, I can't remember if this subdivision is 225 or if this subdivision is 245, because there are sometimes different subdivisions with that $20,000 swing. That's an awesome idea.
Yeah,
Pull
good
up your
advice.
own
I
app.
forget to open my own app.
Your own app, and then just press nearby homes, and it's gonna show you the 5 houses that are right there in that subdivision, and how much they're going for. And then you look so professional. Well, let me see, hold on 1 second. Oh, right here, so this one on 150th, it's going for 224. All right, this one over here, this one's going for 217 over on the other side of the street, and oh, this one over here is at 232. So, I mean, at this point, you know, that 225 number sounds about a reasonable price if that's right at market.
And your buyers are doing that anyway. They're in the house, they're on Redfin or whatever. They don't have your app.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
Some of them are. Counter tactics. So we're on page 19. So the tactics that we're talking about here in negotiating, like I said, certain methods and tactics are types of manipulate the negotiation. So here are the 3 most common ones: nibbling, hot potato, and good guy, bad guy. So with nibbling, once your client has agreed upon one major concession, the other party will start nibbling for additional smaller concessions. Everybody agree with that? I know I find this in almost every single transaction that I'm part of. Hot potato is the other party tries to pass a problem onto you. For example, the co-op agent tries to pass all the closing costs onto your client because their client can't afford them. So this is when you're in the buyer's, they're talking about if you're a buyer's agent and you have a client going in asking for the seller to then give all your full amount of closing costs, right? So is there a way for you to negotiate that in the middle, right? Meaning, hey, the buyer, can we have a $2,500 closing cost credit? Meaning that we'll split those closing costs. We're not asking for the 5, the full, 3%. We have a $2,500 for that going back and forth. Good guy, bad guy, 2 people working together, a husband and a wife, will take on opposing roles. We just talked about this. One appears friendly and considerate while the other behaves in a difficult or negative or aggressive manner. Think of a typical car salesman, good guy, who says his manager, the bad guy, won't let him reduce the price any further. So, Laura, with nibbling, how do you go about, how do you go about stopping it from happening, going back and forth, and nibbling back and forth?
I guess
The nibbling back, I should say. So you're going, okay, I agree to this, and then they come back and they're nibbling and asking for more and more.
I guess it would depend on which side I had, but let's say it's my buyer and they want the closing cost credit and now they want the washer and dryer. Oh, and now they want their
Home
home,
warranty.
whatever, yeah, home warranty. Usually I'll just kind of break it down and ask them what's most important to them.
Okay.
You know,
So that's the way to stop that from saying, okay, this, we already got the seller to agree to this. So what is most important of these other items that you're looking for? Because we don't wanna go back with all of these things, because we wanna get you in that house by March 1st, right? Hot potato. So at this point, I would say throw it back. If they're not willing to do it, then throw it back at them. See, if this is also dependent on your client, you know, are you willing to, if they're willing to walk away from the house, then throw it back at them. If they're not willing to walk away, as a buyer side, they're not willing to walk away from the house, and you have to be very careful about throwing it all the way back at the other side.
as far as the nibbling goes, a lot of times with my sellers, you know, we'll talk about the home warranty when we're listing a house. And if the house is in pretty decent shape, I'll usually say, you know what, I'm not here to sell you more insurance. A home warranty could be a benefit to you because you're covered while you're listed, and I'll explain that benefit. So they know that I've explained that to them, so they don't tell me their hot water heater goes out and I don't say, well, you never told me I could have got my hot water heater covered, because you do know that when you put a home warranty on a house, the seller's covered during the listing period. And they can use the warranty, and if they never close, they don't pay for the warranty. They'll pay for that service call, but they won't pay for the warranty. So there's a benefit to the seller. A lot of times what I'll tell the seller is, let's leave that as a negotiating tool later. So that if we're going back and forth and we want the buyer to come up another 5,000, let's say, or 3,000, we could throw in a home warranty as a little carrot for them to nibble at.
So to make sure I understand, so in saying this, okay, so the buyer wants all this stuff. The seller goes, you know what, we're gonna give you, we'll go down $3,000. We're not gonna give you the $3,000, however, down, lower price, however, we will go ahead and throw in a home warranty for you. So now the buyer side says, oh, at least they're giving us something, that's nice, right? And the seller isn't gonna come up with $3,000, they're only coming up now with $2,500. It's a win-win. So everything that you're doing in negotiation, when you have to have the mindset, you have to think of the other side. And where are they coming from? And then you have to also think about your side and who you're representing. And you wanna make sure that you're coming together for a win-win situation all the time.
Well, actually, just so you're all clear, the home warranty is about 600. Because you said they're not coming up at 2,500. But you really
I
gonna,
have a 500.
Huh?
I have a warranty for 500.
depends who you use. I use American Home Shield, and I always get the premium
Oh,
policy.
there you go.
Yeah, it's gone up again.
I think all of the warranties
Yeah.
actually. I got an email from pretty much every single one. Anybody here. Good guy, bad guy.
I mean, we kind of talked about that a little bit.
They're saying to actually call it out and just say like, come on, you guys are gonna play good guy, bad guy, are you? So
I've never called it
I've never called it out either.
out. I think you give people a little defensive, don't you?
Yeah.
I know we're flying through everything again, you guys, just let us know if you have something you want to add or have questions. Positioning, acknowledge the firm that comes around when the buyer and the seller are in agreement or at the same position, and identify which positions may be easily adjusted and which are set in stone. We're gonna wanna make sure that we ask what and how questions. For example, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you are requesting a 30-day closing. What is important about closing in 30 days? We need to know this information, correct? Because this is going to help us with our negotiating. If your client becomes defensive, you could explain, my goal is to let the buyer know why this point is important to you. So you just want to make sure that they're we need to know this for me to help you to get this deal closed in 30 days to get where you need to be. Positioning is a process and sometimes requires you to come back to the negotiating table more than once. Sometimes several counter offers will be necessary to negotiate and accept. And then there's gonna be times, as Annie said, that you need to know when to walk away. If this is not gonna go anywhere and you know that there is no win-win that's gonna happen from this situation, get out. Get your client out and walk away from the situation. That's all you can do, and then just start fresh and keep my mind down, giving them the best customer support that you can, right? Our clients, we wanna make sure that we're taking care of them and that they feel that. So if they are losing out on a deal, if something does happen and it doesn't have to have a win-win situation, we want to make sure we're keeping them upbeat and we want to stay on top of them to get them back out looking. You do not want them to wait too long and get teary-eyed and emotional about the whole situation.
With the going back and forth, I find less is better. You go back and forth too many times, a lot of times they'll break down because somebody's getting mad and they're digging their heels in. And once they got their heels dug in, you probably are gonna be kind of done. And then as far as it goes with the buyer, if they lose a house, I say something to every single buyer, every single time. I just had to say it to someone last week. Mr. Buyer, I can tell you in my entire career, I've never had, and this is a true statement, never, I can use the word here, I've never had anyone that didn't find a house they liked better when they lost one. So don't worry, it's true. I give them it wasn't meant to be. I mean, I believe in that. And I believe I will find you one that's better, or something might turn around with this one and we can come back and get it later. So that's gonna have to work in that scenario because either they're getting the one they thought they first wanted, or they're getting something like they like better, so it's always working them. And then it makes them feel a lot better, because they're crying, they're on their phone and they're upset and you can't talk them off the ledge except for to say, listen, don't worry, we're pounding the pavement, I'm out there, I door knock. I mean, I tell them, tell me what you're looking for. People pointed out houses to me, I'll go door knock them, I don't care, I'll go look for, and I'll double on it. So I'll let them know, I'm gonna pound the pavement, find you a house that you're absolutely gonna fall in love with. It just makes them feel better.
And I also tell them, I've been doing this for 13 years now, and nobody's ever ended up homeless. So don't worry, we will find you a home. I say that all the time.
Me too.
I
I
don't never been homeless.
Yeah, I tell you, we will stay in my basement. No one's ever done it.
Yeah, I did the basement one too. You know, we also talk about setting expectations.
Yes, that expectations is huge.
And so, especially because I'm more on the seller side, if I have a situation where my seller is like, all right, fine, I will agree to this, but I am not doing, when it comes, I'm not doing a million repairs, or, and I'll go back then to the buyer's agent and say, all right, we're agreeing to this for your buyers, but to let you know, and I'll, tell them, I know we've looked at the comps, this is a very fair price. My seller is not going to be doing a laundry list on the repair request. I set that expectation up immediately. And I tell my sellers that doesn't guarantee that we're not going to get one once the attorneys get involved and they start talking about it. But I sort of set that expectation because, I'll have times where sellers, they'll get that back and be like, Jackie, I'm not doing this. And I'll go right to the agent and say, either you look at that list or we're done, we're done, and set that expectation and say they offer, the seller already offered you this, this, and this. This is going to come back and appraise it this. Where do you want to be?
I love that.
That happens a lot too, where sellers will say, I'll take this off, I'm not doing anything. And then you have to just calm them down,
Yeah, say, let's-
just say what you said, and we're gonna, let the buyer and the buyer's agent know that you're not gonna do anything. However, there is no guarantee. They may still come with something. And health and safety issues, we do need to, I found that, we do need to address that, Mr. Seller, because you certainly don't wanna live in a house with a craft heat exchanger where you get carbon monoxide poisoning, right? No.
And it'll
You have
come
a
back.
double tap on your electrical box and could start a fire. You don't wanna be living here doing that, do you? No. Well, those we might address. So I set that expectation up ahead of time of, yes, I understand it's as is, and then let me check off as is. And then the buyer will still come back with some things and just negotiate through it. Again, that's where you don't get emotional and say to the buyer's agent, well, we told you we weren't doing anything. Don't get emotional, it's not your house. Say, okay, let's work through this. What's on our list? Yeah, that's
What's most
important. All right, we'll address one thing. And a lot of times the sellers, even though they said, I'll do nothing,
They
still
will
do
still do
things.
it. I've done the same thing. I had one, I was a listing agent, it was an estate. They said it was sold as is, they came back with a list, one of them was the electrical, it was 60, it wasn't, and I said, you can't,
They have
it's a
to.
60, I'm like, you have to, we're not gonna be able to sell,
Or the
sell- I
seller will do
understand
it
where
like-
you're at. I'm not asking for you to fix it, however, we need to give some sort of a credit to this buyer for him to be able to fix the
And Jackie, I
electric
mean, you
together.
closed hundreds.
I've had sellers that have done repairs like between negotiating and between then and when we get the repair request back.
Yes.
And they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I already did this. And I'm like, and it's just funny, they know. So they're like, so I'll be like, okay, you guys, this is already done. They already
Yeah.
did it.
So, and then that person, my seller, after 3 or 4 days, not became emotional. I just said, if you wanna go back onto the market, no problem. I'll let them know, we're not gonna give you a credit and we'll get it back up and going. Or do we wanna just go ahead and negotiate a credit for them that's reasonable for
Something,
you, and let's get this thing closed in 5 weeks.
Well, the other
And that's
thing,
what they said, yes, let's just give them the credit.
the other thing to tell the sellers, this is gonna show up in the next one inspection.
Yes.
Yes, Always
So-
say that, I always say that. Well, we can put it back on the market, however, every buyer that's gonna come through is probably gonna ask for the same
And then
thing.
they have to disclose it. too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do,
Yeah.
which is why we don't wanna send over.
That's right. It's a good tip.
Coming from the attorney's office, that was like, probably like, don't send inspection reports unless they're asked for.
Well, and it's against the contract.
Thank God they changed it. 'cause it's
Yeah.
In there.
Kim and I were in a situation like that once where I always was like, hey, send it over, or I want a copy of it, and I think you sent it, because I told her to send it, and the other agent, who was a Keller Williams agent, said, well, you just went against the contract, and we can declare it null and void, because you sent the inspection, and you're not supposed to. I'm like,
Actually, it was in 6.0, it says.
Like now the 7.0 is like big.
it is,
bold
Yeah.
it's pretty clear,
Yeah.
don't send it, but don't send it.
So what they're saying right now is that if you are representing a buyer and you have gone through and done an inspection with them, and there are requests that the buyer wants to make based on that inspection, that your attorney for your buyer should only be sending over the request letter by itself. It has been protocol now for the last good 10 years that it's the letter attaching the entire inspection report with it. So now what that is doing is that's putting the seller in a situation that now they see all that's 40-page long stuff of wrong stuff with their house. And if something doesn't go through with this deal, they now have to disclose it on their disclosure for the next time.
And it
that
could be
goes
wrong.
on the market. It could also be inaccurate,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of times they are. So what they're saying is now with the new 7.0 contract, all it's saying is send the letter with the request, and then the seller's attorney then has to request for the inspection if they want proof or show exactly what they were seeing on the
I think it does say on there, because I've done a couple of them now, that it says you can include the page
That
for
is
that
correct.
request.
Yeah.
The relevant page.
the relevant.
So if
page.
it's
So I've
not,
seen
like,
that
go
one
back
too.
to, you want that one page.
So don't send them the 77-page report, just page 17 that talks about the electrical. Or the way I like to do it is the summary. There's a summary page, so it's only really talking about the help, you know, the main things. That's also something. So you just want to be making sure that as you an agent, that you're talking to your preferred attorney, okay, on the buyer side to make sure that they're doing that. Because some of the attorneys are old school, to be honest, and they just are doing what they're doing. So this is something that you want to make sure that you're staying on point with as the agent, right? And making sure that you're doing what you need. So real quick, we're going to go through this positioning. I'm going to say that this side is the buyer side, and this side is the listing side. Okay, everybody here? Buyer side, listing side. Here's the scenario. The property has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and is listed at $350,000 in a well-established neighborhood. The house requires new carpeting throughout the first floor and new garage door opener. 3 offers have been made, but all were below the asking price. The buyer's agent role. Your buyers are making an offer of $340,000 for the house. They have been pre-approved. The buyers would like to close in the shortest time possible since they are moving from out of state and need a home for their family. Since they are leaving their appliances in their current home, the buyers would also like all the appliances to be included. Everybody hear that on the buy side? Sales side, listing side. Your sellers have raised their family in the house you're selling and have many friends and family in the area. Since their children are now grown, they no longer need the amount of space their current home provides and have purchased a home in Florida. They would like to give all the appliances to their daughter, who has just gone through a divorce. They will not be moving until they have sold their current house, and although they would like to get to Florida as soon as possible, they are ready to stand their ground regarding the price. So, what I would like to do is just go back and forth here and present your case to your other side and practice positioning. So go back and forth 2 times, aiming to arrive at a win-win agreement. Does that make sense?
So do you want one person just to kind of shout something?
Yeah. We'll just
So
do it all
somebody on the
together.
buyer's side, how do you get the appliances for your client? And the seller side can respond.
They're coming, they don't have appliances to move in and they're just starting out, so they need appliances.
Okay,
Also, it's normally just in the contract.
Almost every single deal I put together, the appliances are included, and it's gonna cost your sellers more money to have those moved out of the home, and then they're gonna have to make sure everything's sealed off and not leaking gas or anything.
Very
Seller
good.
side, what do you say?
Seller side, what do you say back to that? Shout it out.
We're negotiating, remember? What can we give, but maybe not give it all?
Raise the
I'll
price
give you
and
a
offer
hint.
credit.
Say it again.
Raise the price closer to the list price and offer credit for new appliances.
So you're saying go back to the buy side with maybe a $345 purchase price? And give a credit of $2,500?
Yeah, I always go
For the
higher than what we
appliances?
expect and let the other side have the last word, because then they feel like they won.
Say that one more time.
I always suggest that I go back higher than what we expect to get to give the buyers the last word. So then they feel like they won.
Okay. So buy side, because the
So I would
listing
go
agent
higher.
came back, are you going back at $345?
I'd go higher than that.
So tell me what you go at,
I'd probably go with 348.
$348 with a $2,500?
Yeah, or $25 or $3,000 credit for, yeah.
$348, the buyer comes, the seller's coming back to you buyer side with a $348 purchase price, and then they're gonna give you a credit for $3,000 now for your appliances that you need to go and purchase.
We're gonna try to find.
Yep.
I don't think it's $2,000
So we can clearly see how Annie negotiates her contracts.
You still have a carpet on the first floor though.
Well, the carpet isn't, I mean, yeah. Carpet is carpet, it's not like an inspection and it's like better, it's like major.
Yeah,
It's 5 major things.
The new contract, I don't think you can even ask for that.
So, I mean, if we talk about all of the appliances, you're talking a washer, dryer, refrigerator, stove, microwave. What else am I leaving out? A range. So that is gonna cost you more than $3,000.
Okay, so go back to your buyer now, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I know that you like this house, I know you wanna get into this house, they're coming back with us with a $348 with a $3,000 credit. I know the appliances are gonna cost more than $3,000. Would you like to go back to the list side and ask for a higher price for a credit for your appliances? Or is the purchase price where you would like to negotiate? Does that make sense? So now I'm the buyer, so you're gonna say that to me, and I'm gonna go back and say, I don't care how much money I have to pay for the house, as long as it's gonna appraise out, but I need to have my appliances in the house. Would you agree that most of your clients are gonna say that to you? Okay, so then what do you say
I
back to the
always
seller?
suggest, you know, with the buyers that if it's something they're gonna need right away, then closing cost credit is what you should try to negotiate, because then you have that money still, you know, that you save for a down payment and you're ready to buy it.
Julie, you hate them as a buyer side or a listing
I
side?
hate them, period.
Okay,
Closing
I
cost credit?
just hate them.
closing
They
costs.
muck
right?
you up a deal. I know, but it's just, you're shifting.
It's just you're shifting
I hate them
numbers.
more on the listing side, of course.
Yes.
Cause you're just shifting money.
Wait, I'm looking for a bold law for you. Change your thinking, change your world comes to my mind. Because here's the thing, you've got an expectation in your head. May I coach you on this?
Sure, go right ahead.
So you have an expectation right now in your head, and you've got this attitude, I hate closing cost credits. My guess is you're having a lot of struggles with your sellers on it, because without realizing it, you're putting that expectation on them. You hate them, so your sellers hate them. So if you change your mindset on that and said, hey, I'm here to negotiate, whatever's gonna work is gonna work, your sellers don't know any different. The way I explain it to my sellers, I say, listen, we have a buyer that comes in FHA, very common these days. They're a young couple starting out, they don't have a lot of money, they might need that extra 3%, which Mr. Seller,
I
equals
will tell-
5,000 for you.
And I will tell you honestly, I do not let my hate of closing costs
Wow. This is
influence my
Deal.
listing.
Right.
But I do, where it gets me, honestly, is on the buy side.
Okay.
Because lenders will say, oh, get a blah, blah, blah
3%, yeah.
closing cost credit, and I'm like, wait a second. First of all, I'm not pre-approving you for a loan. Why is the lender playing real estate agent? And in a market where inventory is tight, unless you absolutely have to have a closing cost credit, credit, I don't understand why you would do it.
Well, a lot of times the lender is pre-approving it because they know that
Based on
they don't have the money. And then two, if they're paying a little bit more for the house, it's the same thing to the seller. And I just tell her, the buyer, you're just basically financing your closing costs, that's what you're doing. However, if you're approved up to 190 and you need $5,000 closing cost credit, instead of paying 185, you're gonna have to pay the 190. You're financing your closing costs. So to the buyer, if they're willing to do it, so be it. And to the seller, if they're netting the same thing, so if they got 190 with 5,000 closing cost credit, or they got 185 with no closing cost credit, they're netting the same thing. It's irrelevant. To me, I take myself out of it. I don't really care what you people do. Let's just put this together to everybody agree.
And I have negotiated deals on the sell side where if somebody absolutely had to have a closing cost credit, we bumped up the sale price and put that in. I mean, so I'm happy to work with it, but I do have
A block.
I do.
We'll talk about that later.
So the last time I heard is that the buyer side, the buyer said, I don't care what the price is, I'll pay full price, I just want my closing, I just want this appliance, and I want a credit for my appliances. So as the buyer, where are we going back to the seller? There, right now, it's sitting at $348 with a $3,000.
So I would come back in at 348 and say, leave the appliances. Why are you giving your daughter, who you love, used appliances? Don't you just leave them in the house?
Leave them in the house, buy her new appliances at a cheaper price point because she's in the process of divorce and can't afford appliances. She's not spending $350,000 on a house.
So you're okay with the $348 purchase price? We want all the appliances to stay, no matter what.
And because my sellers are firm and they are retired and they do not care about leaving the house to go to Florida, you may lose the deal because they are firm.
So when you go back to
So the seller's willing to lose the deal over $2,000.
Well, it states
the
that.
buyer's willing to lose the deal.
Yeah,
To
it
$1,000.
states that the sellers are just standing their ground regarding the
I'd say
price.
full
But you've already come
And
down to
so what
348.
I would, sorry.
Right.
You've already come down to 348.
Yeah, that's without the appliances though. And then it states that they're standing firm regarding the price and that they don't care as far as moving to Florida really, really soon. So that lets me know I have a bull no seller right there. So I would probably say to you as my realtor and say, hey, this is the position of my seller, this is where they're at. They're really not in a hurry to move to Florida. So I would just probably talk to your buyer and say, hey, accept whatever closing costs that, go up in pricing, accept the closing costs. It'll offset on the appliances and go from there. That's what I probably would say.
Jackie, what would you say?
I would just go back, I'd probably go back full price. I'd go to the seller and say, this is the situation. How strongly do you guys want it? How soon do you really want to get to Florida? I'd go over the market. The one piece that's missing here is the price fair. Because they said they're not willing to budge.
It's price correct.
Then I would probably go back to the buyer side and say they're at $350 full price. They're willing to leave you all the appliances that you said are very important to your buyer.
That's what I would do.
And you would talk to your seller and negotiate with your seller to explain to them that $3,000 that you were gonna give to them.
Yeah,
and then
give it to your daughter. Yep.
And that would be the negotiating that you
Because
have.
I feel then
Do you
that's
see
the
how there's
win-win.
Negotiating going on. with
So I feel like that's the
agent?
win-win, because then you can still give your daughter the appliances, and then the buyers get those appliances that they want in the house, so they don't have to go out and buy, pay anything extra, they don't.
What kind of appliances are they?
Well, that's the other
Buyers,
side, that's what buyer side is too.
See, I mean, there are so many different, you don't know. So, I mean, because it could be high-end appliances that are worth way more than.
Probably not.
So I think that the whole point of this whole thing though is that we don't get into that. Right, we're saying that's emotional, right? There's an emotion that goes with what kind of appliances. That's going into the emotional. This is just, how do we get this to a win-win situation? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer agent, seller agent. How do we make this all work? Right now, the only thing on the line right now are appliances. Sounding right? Like that is all that this is all about is appliances. So now, If the seller goes back, the way that Angela responds and says, my seller is sticking to it, they want those appliances, I'm sorry, if you want the house, you're gonna have to pay the $348. Would they go down in price then?
Who knows?
And so what would your scenario, what would you go back with? What would you go back to your buyer with if you got that back? Now, you're at the third time now, we're back and forth, this is the third time coming back.
So she's coming back at 340,
350.
350
Full price.
without the appliances?
Leaving the
With
Leaving
everything,
the
yeah,
appliances
everything's
already.
there.
So that was Jackie's scenario, was 350, leaving the appliances. I'm gonna go, almost every single buyer agent's gonna say yes to that, correct? I would say yes to that. Angela's going back saying, no, they're not giving me appliances. They're set, they're headstrong. They're bulldozed, they're not budging.
Well, then I would
They're
just
taking
say,
those appliances.
I would say
So
full
that they're-
price.
So if they don't sell the house and give the daughter the appliances, they're gonna have to buy the daughter new appliances anyway.
That's a good point.
So what freaking,
So that's your position then, right? As a buyer agent, at this point
then
now.
just buy them new
So do you
appliances.
feel, we just did this for like 7 minutes, do you feel your frustration? Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Because we're sitting here talking for 10 minutes about appliances
Yeah, I get it.
that cost $5,000. That's an additional $37 in your mortgage. That would give you $3,000 less money, right? Do you see where we're at with that? And the frustration of where you're feeling,
And they
how
can
it's
give
taxed
away,
and you're feeling.
they can give their daughter used appliances that at this point are probably worth less than $700, or they can go out and buy her
So then-
$3,000 worth of new
What I'm
appliances.
hearing is that we should be zooming in on that. We should be zooming in when we're talking to the listing agent to talk about the motivation of that. I understand that they want to get their daughter the appliances. I completely appreciate that. You know, the appliances that are in the house that we noticed, they're nice. However, they seem to be a few years old. I'm sure that we can get those probably for, you're probably gonna, actually, your seller's probably gonna spend more money on a credit than what those appliances are even worth. On top of the fact that you have to now move them, you're gonna have to cap off the gas lines, the water lines. I don't know. Can we maybe see if we can work something out with this? Because to me, it sounds like it might be a little bit more work for your seller than they're even realizing. See, that's how you can talk to them.
And what I was just telling her is too, like, it may not be about the condition, it's that it was her parents' appliances.
Mhm.
So sometimes you have to figure out too, like, is it that it was just her parents and they wanna like give it to her, like pass it down, even though it could be the worst condition, but you want your parents' stuff. So you also need to find out is it just these appliances or they want her to have their appliances, which could be corny to us, but
Right. No,
it could be like, that's my mom's washer and dryer, so I wanna keep it.
And but I really want everyone to really understand is that you guys didn't even have an actual client that you were attached to in that
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
And look at how passionate you got just to represent that side and to stick with the, your bulldozer seller and your buyer, right?
Yeah.
Think about that. And we're supposed to be even killed. Now, I know a lot of agents, and I'm not gonna point fingers, that probably would not even go back to their buyer with that. They would get so frustrated that seller came back the first time and said, no, we're keeping the appliances, that you would just go back like, no, no, we need the appliances, right? You wouldn't even call your buyer probably. You would just go in right away because you're so emotionally attached. Your logic, right, is just like, oh.
It's illegal not to call.
I was gonna say, that scared the
You're
crap out of me, that's all I claim.
Right, exactly. Great, so that means everyone's doing what they're legally supposed to do.
I hope so.
So yeah, however, would you call your clients and be like, well, we're not gonna accept that, we gotta get the appliances? Or are you calling your client to say, this is what the seller came back at, how would you like me to go and respond?
Because you never know, even 30 minutes, you never know what their changes in their motivation.
Yeah. And
Perfect.
I
Exactly.
never, because you can learn so much more about that client, and assuming that you're gonna continue to work with them over time. So if you wait and see what they say, you just get more and more insight, more and more.
All right, I have to leave.
Thank
an
you so
appointment,
much.
So good luck, you guys. Last part is to close the deal. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, the number one thing I talk about when I teach that class is to set expectations all the way around with everybody. And also understand, and you're gonna get into this, but understand you're the glue that holds the deal together. It's not the listing agent's job, the buyer's agent's job, the attorney's job, the inspector's job, it's your job. You do everybody's job if necessary, because a lot of other people are dropping the ball in this part. And the way I look at it is, I got my teeth on that deal and I'm not letting it go. So I'm gonna do whatever is necessary to keep that deal together in this close the deal section. This is from the time you get a contract to the time you close. So there's a lot of steps in between. So you just know, don't have the attitude of, oh, it's not my job. Do you wanna close? Then it is your job. So that would be my number one thing I talk about. Go ahead, Julie.
I was gonna ask, in this negotiation process, how much time do you think is actually just spent coaching the other agent?
That could be too, and you gotta be careful when you coach them, so you don't sound condescending, you know, because then they're gonna get turned off by that. However, you know, I do try to have a conversation with them and soft sell it to them. And what I feel that, I tell my clients, I start negotiating from the time I talk to the other agent. So say I'm the listing agent and I'm getting feedback from them. Or, no, let me spin this around. I'm the buyer's agent and I'm talking to the listing agent and I'm like, well, I don't know, the house seems kind of high, it needs some work. I mean, what do you think? I mean, are your clients negotiable? So whatever I'm saying to that agent, I want to put that in their head so they say it to their clients. So I'm coaching them without them realizing I'm coaching them, because if you do, the majority of them are, unless they're brand new and then they appreciate it, they're gonna get offended. Yeah. So I
appreciate when agents send me this stuff, like, because you could be dealing with a seller who, we know they're overpriced. We're working with them on that price reduction. Nothing aggravates me more than getting feedback from agents that say, oh, price is perfect, when they know it's not. You're like, don't do that. But when it comes to negotiations, send me back like the two comps that show where it should be. Say, well, you know what, but you know, like you said, put it nicely. Say, you know, we're basing the price on these two comps in the area, blah, blah, blah. It gives me a lot more leverage to go back to my seller.
Katie, what did you say? You
I
said,
said I send comps all the time.
so meaning that you went and showed a buyer a property
Mhm.
and they said no because the price was too high. And so when you give feedback to that listing agent,
Oh,
you're
no,
telling them,
well, I tell them that it's overpriced.
okay, and then you say, do you point out the reason why? And the
No,
comps that are
not
hurting
unless
it?
I'm making an offer.
Okay,
If I'm making an offer,
that's lower.
Yeah.
You then you send the comps over with that offer. That's awesome. Julie, did you have something more to say on that previous?
Yeah.
The amount of time, is that what you're talking about?
No, it's just, you guys talking about agent feedback and stuff reminded me of something that I read. And I don't remember where, so you have to take this with a grain of salt. But they were talking about feedback, client feedback. Are you giving up a potential bargaining position, and is it really legal? Do you have to get your clients to specifically say, can I give this specific feedback? Or is it just really one agent helping another?
So when you're talking about giving feedback, you're talking about on a house that could be potential that your client might want to make an offer on?
Any problem. But
Any property.
specifically, if your client is potentially interested in making an offer on it, that you giving feedback, particularly without their permission, could be seen as.
So are you giving feedback from the client's perspective, or are you giving feedback
Well,
from
that's
yours?
the ultimate question, isn't it?
Correct.
Whose feedback are you
Whose
giving?
feedback are you giving?
And if you are giving client feedback, do you have permission to do that?
Showing time says, what is your and your client's opinion is the question.
I know when I give my feedback, I will say they, and then I will say I, meaning like they didn't like the backyard. I felt the price point was higher than the market. So within that paragraph, it's them telling me, and I'm taking notes. I know for me, I let my clients know that I'm taking notes, that I'm gonna be providing feedback. I think that I'm a big advocate of disclose of everything. So my clients know that that's what I'm doing as I'm walking through and taking notes down, that I'm essentially making notes to give feedback to that seller. I will say, I never give feedback though on a house that they're looking to make an offer.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think a lot of times they don't.
I don't. I'll let it just sit in my email.
I do after.
Me too.
The offer,
Yeah.
so it stops sending me.
Yes, I will do it after
Right,
the fact, after
exactly.
like the negotiations are completed. And a lot of times I literally just put like making an offer. That's the feedback I read. I won't even answer the questions. That's the feedback I give. Putting an offer in. And that's all I'm sending back. Again, though, a good agent is gonna ask the questions.
So
to
in
get that
my, you know, like Laura was talking, you guys were talking about asking questions of the listing agent to get, you know, find out what their negotiating style is or whatever. Flip that around though. Because if you're on the listing side and, I mean, how much do you really want to give away? I mean, what would your responses to those questions be?
And that is exactly why we need to ask the question. Because there are going to be some listing agents, like that scenario that I had with the 330, who gave me tons of information, nice, friendly, giving me a whole bunch of information that I listened to and then utilized for that offer. There's myself, you call me, I have a blank brick wall. I don't give a lot of information out about my sellers and where they are at. You know, if you're looking to make an offer, that's awesome, go ahead and send it over, we'll get it over to the seller side. I'll make sure that the sellers, you know, respond down in a timely manner. So I don't give, me as an agent personally, even though I'm a talker and friendly, I won't give a lot of.
What if they call you and ask you a question? What's your response to not?
Depends on the specific question. There's some times where I just say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
Okay.
Hold on one second, I have to see if we have a sponsor, I'm sorry. Do we have a sponsor here? Do we know? Are you supposed to be talking to us? Okay, I didn't know. Give me 1 minute then. So it depends on the question, right? I've had some agents that are so abrupt and they're like, where are they moving to? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Like,
Yeah, or do you have any offer? Like, do you have any offers?
well, and very, very important, you guys, you have to have your seller's permission
Yeah, you can't.
to say that there's multiple offers. And I have had other agents yelling at me on the phone after the fact that said, you never told me that there was multiple offers.
That's right.
I don't have to tell you that there's multiple offers. That is right smack dab. There's tons of agents that don't realize that. Well, I wish I would have known. Literally, they'll type it. I wish I would have known. Why didn't you tell me that? My seller didn't want me to disclose it at the time.
From the buyer side, isn't that something you're supposed to ask, so like you have offers, you have cash off from this, you know?
You can ask those questions, but the listing agent has to go on their sellers, what their seller is saying. So if the seller says, yes, you can go ahead and let people know that there's multiple offers and ask for highest and best, then I can do that. However, as a listing side, if you ask me, do you have any cash offers? I don't have to answer that. My answer back would be like, we do have multiple offers on the property. And go ahead and put your highest and best through.
Why would you not want to let them know
Right.
there's multiple offers? If you're working for the seller,
Some sellers.
Because buyers
I think
sometimes
it's
don't want to be
fierce.
part of a multiple
Yeah.
offer situation, so then they'll go back out.
They don't wanna get into it. There's some types.
I've never had one that said don't disclose it, so I've always been able to disclose it. But just so that everyone is very clear, you have to get the seller's permission to say. And it doesn't have to be typed out in MLS either. That's not people think that you have to put it into the MLS, but you don't.
does it say that somewhere that we have to get their permission? Is that like part of the
Yeah.
contract or where is that? What's
It's just part of the law.
It's
License law.
license law?
You said it does not have to be in the MLS. I've seen it in the MLS.
You-
There were multiple offers and they said.
Yeah, highest and best do.
Buy.
That is, that's sometimes, that's
It's up
just
to
the
them,
agent
yeah.
being, putting it out there. There's times where I have done it, and there's times where I haven't. That's the listing agent. That's why as a buyer's agent, it's your job to contact and say, can you please tell me if you have any other offers on this property? All right, I'm gonna have, our sponsor come in and give us a couple minutes, and then I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes for a break, okay? We're actually good on time, believe it or not. Come on in. Sure. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
And you're from,
Fifth Third Bank.
and your name is?
And I'm Dave Crowder. I'm a mortgage loan officer over there. I cover a few banks, between Shorewood, Romeoville, and Lockport. And we have another location right up here, right on your corner. So just here to introduce myself to you today. Normally Tim, my manager, comes. I think you know Tim.
Yep.
From a couple of the interviews. I've been here a couple times, so I see a lot of new faces in here. So I just want to take a chance to introduce myself to you as our loan officer and what we do and what we can offer. Basically, what we do in this portion of it is basically pre-approvals for you guys and answer questions. So a lot of times you don't know the mortgage lending side, you know some of it, but you don't know everything. Just like on my side, when I send somebody, I get a pre-approval, what I like to do is partner up, and then I'll send you, a pre-approval for someone who's able to go buy a home. I trust you at that point because of all your training and expertise to take them and do what you need to do with them on your side. Just like when you give them to me, I want to make sure that I'm, answering all their questions and putting them at ease so we make the transaction go very nice and smooth. Product-wise, real quickly, I don't have much time to let you know. We do have low down payment loans. We actually just came out with our own really low down payment, which has no mortgage insurance for your borrowers. So it puts them in a better buying power. I want them to be able to, buy what they can afford, but we want to make sure that they're not going over their skis either. So that's what I'll do with them. With that, we offer down payment assistance programs that are internal for us, and then we have a great program. If any of you guys are dealing with Chicago first responders, there's a $30,000 for Chicago grant that's given to them for that area. So I'd love to talk to you guys, about that if you have anybody in that area. And these programs are going to go for a while. I don't think some of them like stop and start, but I think the first responder thing is a great one that they're doing right now. So, so we're local.
Awesome.
We were here. We also are here in the Internet Cafe. Typically, somebody from Fifth Third is here almost every day. We just hang out in there. If you guys have any questions, you guys want, feel free to stop us. Just ask us whatever you need. And we do only residential mortgages up to 4 units. Just so you know, so I know some of you guys are in the commercial side and whatnot. So we can only do the residential.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you. And
glad
I
you're
think
here.
are you guys still doing graduation on Monday?
Monday, yes.
Because of the weather? Okay. So I'm glad
Yes,
everybody
we're doing a
survived.
double class today, so we can still
Okay.
graduate on
Okay,
Monday.
and then on Monday, I think we're sponsoring the graduation. I think we got some cake and stuff. And Tim, my manager, will be here for that one. He's out interviewing right now. It's a big time, just like you guys are ramping up for the spring market.
Because the spring market starts on Monday. In case everyone knows.
Monday?
Everything-
Monday.
yeah, Super Bowl,
Bowl.
spring market
Yeah,
cheer.
yeah, absolutely, it does.
All my coaching
It
clients
really
know
does.
that.
Right after Super Bowl. So congrats and everything. I'll probably be back here on Monday again. Good times. And if you got any questions, feel free to ask.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank you so
so
much.
much.
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Good luck, guys.
Thanks, guys. If you want to talk to him, you have any questions, he'll be in the Internet
Shut the door,
Cafe.
though.
I'll leave it open. You guys we're gonna go on break. We're gonna do 15 minutes, okay? So you guys come back at 11. I appreciate everyone's time today.
Good, how are you?
So does anybody in here use Central App?
Yes.
Have you ever gotten a key stuck in it? This box will not open. I even called them and they downloaded it and off the property thinking that it was weather related, so won't open. Isn't it?
Does the motor turn?
Use your card though, I app doesn't work.
I use the card and then once you reactivate the card, the app stops working because your card's now.
We can only use one.
I know, that's so
That my card.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, turn it off. You're out. So if you're out, you get like the Xfinity license hotspot, you gotta turn it off.
Sí, es que estaba demasiado frío y los carros se estaban pero ¿quieres que pase hoy? Sí, dame tu dirección. We have to press the enter, so the solution shows up.
Sur de la conversión.
Is it turning? Do you hear the motor?
No, it's not.
Not doing anything, just sitting there quietly. Okay, it says it's
Yes,
opening.
and they only got the,
And it does nothing.
oh, es una casa más pequeña. Okay.
I will call him back.
So you tried to access, but it was next to
How you doing?
Okay. Okay.
You got it now, you have to wait. See what she wants. And then.
Está bien, yo te mando con ella de aquí, probablemente llegue aquí
Yeah, there's nothing, no ears. You don't hear it again. You know, you hear a little, you hear beeps. So.
No, nada más voy a llevar la información y el número que me dieron para llamar para los veteranos, para ver si la
Long story short, we had 7 reservations, and then they canceled one of them. So, like, we're supposed to leave Monday morning. So I get mad, so we booked the time, like, for 9 o'clock some night. And like, you know, when they made their reservation, they canceled that flight.
Well, it's the right.
So it was back and forth. For a day and a half, we had, the final one was, we were gonna fly to O'Hare. You know, we parked at Midway. So we're driving to the airport in Orlando, thinking, okay, we're out of here, and they canceled the
Hey,
flight.
good morning, how are
And
you?
we were en route to the,
I'm doing well,
so.
you're probably calling me to see if you're gonna be
Like,
able to call.
Saturday night at 9 o'clock at night, so that's tomorrow night. So.
No, you know what,
Yeah.
I have.
In the meantime, you know, we lost our rooms and, so as we're.
So, well,
so as we're
I'm
going
gonna
to the,
see if I can make it.
so at the airport,
Talk to
they
my,
was a lot, it was, they canceled some.
and I will send you a message.
The airport, we knew, we knew, anything, 18 hours straight through. 6:30 at night, got home 11:30, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, I'm sorry, Wednesday morning. Yeah. Yeah. And so the time, yeah, I got like 3 hours sleep, 30 plus hours. Right. And, you know, no, it's me, Kim and I, and another couple that we hung out with. Danny got out early Sunday night. O'Hare was open. Southwest is closed. Southwest closed everything down. Everything. You know, so we said, okay, we're driving. We're right. We're not stopping. Yeah, we had breaks. You know, snack, and that's pretty much what we did. I think we stopped twice. Maybe 3 half. No. Driving together, driving like 6 hours, 7 hours. And I drove to some mountains every quarter, Tennessee, I drove for like 5 hours. You know, at once. And then his wife drove the rest of the hours. So yeah, home 11:30. Live in standard. I was in the world. You know, every meal on our box was $20. So, you know, it's heads up. So we just it was good. So. We did. But the council ran out one night. Okay.
But how do I?
We rented another time there for one night. Okay.
Will they take
You
it?
know, it was. Fine, but.
Yeah.
How we lose place to live. It wasn't bad. One way was like $300.
He said he downloaded.
You know, Let's go, something that month someday. Stay in there. Yeah. It'd be easy. But, yeah, just touch base.
Yeah, thanks, I appreciate it. It's just for the source of frustration here today.
Yeah, yes.
Now you think that the Wi-Fi connection. Then on Wi-Fi here.
Right, 1 second. Yeah. Oh, really? Is that what John only said to do? Yeah, I don't think, well, I was consult John first before he does that. Yeah, yeah. But,
Okay, so.
I don't know. But anyway, I'll call Dave, I'll call Dave after this pass it over. Okay, well. All right.
I don't really care.
So have you noticed any differences taking effect?
The guys can use the shower yet?
Hello. Hi, Marty, how are you? Yes. Esa tengo aquí.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, good, so. So the shower doors all down on the face? Okay, good. All right. I'll go to it. I'll go to it. Yes. No. No. I'll just call you when I get out of class. Right, right.
I know when I first started. They would have to turn it off, so I had to switch it over to like coffee and I never did call that. Yeah, you can call coffee. You need to have the cold roasted in yours and a diamond, you know, first off the diamond. You can trial, and then I started to fold it. Well, I only bought it for the first one. I got the geolocation version. Basically, it gives you all the followers and address. You want to get the name? I think I do it. Most of them want to do not call me. So I just keep going through all the numbers like that. I have to think about a lot more.
Maybe it's not.
I would be honest with you and tell you that I'm not.
You want to know your computer or something? I had to see how you use it on my phone. Because usually when it had genuine appointments, I'm not going to use it.
No, can't find it anywhere. You might be able to get a deal on a call.
But he was up front, and I asked him, and he told me yeah, I didn't do this right now. That's when I saw but yeah, that's a lot of music. That's why I can't. Because if you get the whole package, like I get for 9 months. like, if that's even my numbers, I'm trying, like, somebody tried to say, it's not like, those numbers, because I know like some of the areas, like even one particular area I was searching on there, and it was like, so I did a piece on now. Out of the first 100. Okay. 8 of them was not college. So that's why I was like, it's crazy. So I was like, you know what, I might try out door knocking, because I haven't tried.
No other cars,
I'm gonna try out door knocking. Some people were saying that they could like, I'm not sure I'm gonna try it, but I can definitely see myself trying it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is
You know, maybe they did it really, maybe they're not good at
Yes.
I'm just gonna switch over, try it out. Oh yeah, the Jordan. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
We're gonna be like daytime at night. Open the door first. I just need to.
It is, it's working. Just for dual career and then for. Yeah.
Well, needs a white.
Either one of those.
Was Jose here on, what was this, Monday? Laura, were you here on Monday?
Yes, I've been here every day.
Alright.
One day I know I forgot.
Tanya, were you here on Monday? Mayella, were you here on Monday? Arturo? Renita, you were here on Monday? Tom, were you here on Monday? So I'm wondering if they just signed it.
I think they signed, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the wrong page.
It's okay. I think we'll fix it. It's okay. I think when they pass it around, it was just on.
This is today's.
So this, I wrote this.
Right. Yeah, there was like there was a sheet. That
It's the third one.
There it is. Thank you. I was like, I know that I did not do it on my. Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna pull this back together, and I will give you guys one more break halfway through this part. We are gonna literally just zoom through, we're gonna finish off negotiations, and then get through closing the deal. I'm gonna grab some water.
You're very smart. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Also, I am gonna be selling Super Bowl squares at the next break. We are literally doing the Super Bowl squares, for KW Cares. KW Cares is essentially a fund that we keep here, that we hold on to, so whenever we have like an agent who's going through some stuff and they might need some help, we use that fund for that. So if it's like medical or anything like that, we'll go ahead and help them.
Will you take a Venmo or check?
I don't know what a Venmo is, but however, we will take a check, yes. So.
You should learn what Venmo is.
It's like PayPal?
Yeah, it's just an app.
It's like. I'm old now, Katie, I don't know what to tell you. You are not. I'm 40 in like 3 days.
No. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna negotiate a counter offer on page 22. We're almost finished up with this. We're just gonna go through this very fast again, because I thought it was very interesting what happened the last time, and everybody's different take. So, buyer agent, your client has found a house they love, it's in the neighborhood they want. It's at the top of their price range, it does not, and does need some work, updating the kitchen and the master bathroom. Your client makes an offer on the property and the seller's agent says, I must warn you that we have gotten several offers and your offer is pretty low.
Illegal.
Listing side, your seller is moved in 45 days due to a job transfer. You feel that you have priced the house competitively. You are aware the house needs updating, but the sellers don't see the need because the house was just fine for them. There have been multiple offers. The other offers are still standing, but the timing may not work for the seller. And the latest offer is lower than the asking price. You have let the buyer's agent know, I must warn you, that we have gotten several offers and your offer is pretty low. So I want to put it back to the buyer's agent right now. That if a listing agent said that to you, what would your response be?
Just to let you know, the price is really high.
Okay. What else?
Whose side am I on?
You're the buy side.
Oh, I don't want to be the buy
All right, then I'll switch it.
No,
No, you're right.
No, she wants to be the buy side. We know we'll stay the buy
No,
side.
it's okay. We were the buy side last time, so we can.
All right. Sorry, buy side over here. You're the buyer's agent. The listing agent just told you. I must warn you that we have gotten several offers. Your offer is pretty low. What do you say to that? You're on the phone. It just came. That's exactly what they just said to you. What do you say back? Fast on your feet.
How low is low?
Go ahead, say it. You want to say something? I see
No,
it.
I'm just trying to figure out what to say, like, you know, then good. You know,
What,
good for you.
what do you,
Offer.
There you go. Cindy, what would you say?
Are you going, you said they have multiple offers. Are you asking for highest and best from everyone?
Okay. Yeah. Listing side. Offers low. They can close them in 30 days. Your seller said they need to close in 30 days to the job transfer. The offer's
So-
low.
But is it actually low?
No. Should say the scenario says it was competitive. It was priced competitively.
Okay.
Which means that they're not like the last scenario that was priced.
First competitively, but it's outdated.
Needs a new kitchen.
Needs a new kitchen.
Can I ask how close they can get to whatever number my seller wants? Like, realistically, how close the client is?
So you want to, so as the listing agent, you're going to say to the buyer side, this price is low.
Yeah, and
Are your buyers willing to go up from this number?
yeah, this is the number my client wants. How close can you get to that?
Can't, you wouldn't say it like that.
No.
Go ahead, let's go ahead and switch it around. Go ahead. Go tell her how would we say that? How would we say that?
I would say, can your buyers come up any further? My clients, do not want to come down that low.
I would talk to the sellers and, I would get their permission to do a highest and best. And I would ask their permission to let people know about the closing. Preferred closing timeline. And I would make that part of the highest and best. I would make people aware of that. And then I would wait and see what came back.
So if the agent was calling, asking me about my client's offer. I would ask that, or I would say, are you provide a counter offer? That's probably what I first say, is please put your seller's offer, counter offer in writing to me.
So you would say,
That was what I would say first.
okay. Now you're gonna go back to your seller, right? And you're the list side, and you're gonna say to your listing seller, listen, we need to go back to all of the offers that we have, make everyone where we're at a highest and best scenario, and explain to them that within their highest and best scenario, that their closing date needs to be within.
Do I have your permission to outline these parameters?
30 days. That makes sense? So you're not counter offering,
I wouldn't.
you're
counter-
just going
you're not
back.
gonna
So now
counter right now.
the seller goes back to you, now you're the buyer's agent, you say, they say that we have multiple offers on the table, the highest and best is due tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Just so you know, the seller has asked me to disclose to everyone that if you are going to be putting in a highest and best offer, to be sure that you put in a 30-day closing, as that is a necessity.
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't word it that way with the other agents. I would say, just so that you are aware,
Mhm.
my client would like to close in 30 days.
Okay. So
My
now you're
client
putting that
has the
on.
ability and the desire to be out in 30 days.
Love it. Ability and desire to be out in 30 days. So now you're the buyer's agent. What do you do with your buyer? Okay. And then,
Remind them about their goal
right.
and maybe do an escalation.
What if you have a buyer that's like, oh, I don't want to get into multiple offers. I don't want to pay more than the asking price. Like, I don't even think it's worth more than really $5,000 more than I've already offered.
Okay.
This
That's
is
a
all
good
you.
idea. Put that in writing.
No, wait, you can't let a buyer walk because of multiple offers. You have,
They said to put it
I
in
said put
writing.
it in writing.
Meaning
You're gonna go
$5,000, because the
then
buyer
put it in
said, I
writing.
don't want to spend, I really don't want to do a multiple offer because I'm not really willing to spend more than $5,000 more than what my first offer was. She said, as the buyer's agent, I completely understand, let's go ahead and put that, your highest and best with the $5,000 higher, and now we'll go back to the selling side.
Okay.
So now so do you see how again, we're talking about negotiations, we're talking about win-win situations.
yeah, but there is this mentality among buyers that if you're in a multiple offer, oh, screw it, I don't want to do it, I'm not going over asking, I'm not blah, 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 blah. And it's like, stop, wait. Because from the listing side, I know that I've been in multiple offer situations with my sellers, and I will honestly tell you that because I know I have a pretty good idea where that house is gonna appraise, I have recommended often that they not take the highest monetary offer because I know we're just gonna be on the back side after the appraisal,
Yes.
renegotiating. So you take a look at all of the other components in the offer and find out what's really the best fit for the seller. Just because it's priced in a certain way, you coming back at above asking doesn't make it a good deal.
Correct. And there's been numerous times where I've been a part of a multiple offer situation, and I will get literally a whack. I had like a townhouse in the Palis. It was priced exactly where it needed to be, and somebody came in with an offer $10,000 higher. And I tell you what, that agent was like baffled when I called them and said, "I'm sorry, we went with another offer." They were like, "What do you mean? It was $10,000 over." And all I had to say is there was other factors that my seller decided on, and they would decide to go with another offer. The factor is they knew that the house was not going to appraise for $10,000 more, so it was a null and void. So everything else with the offer was looked at, not just the price point, but everything else. So everything else on the offer had, was comparable to the multiple. Then they could have had a chance. However, because there was nothing else there, it was not worth it for my seller to do that. So there's always
and this is where financing comes in so much. Because if it's FHA or VA, the last thing you need is an appraisal that's gonna stick with that house.
And then I will say a lot of times when you're in multiple offer situations, that's why you're looking at everything. What type of financing they're using, if there's closing cost credits, when is it closing, all of that stuff. And, at the end of the day, who's the lender? Who's the lender that the buyer is coming in with? Those are the things we're gonna look at.
Well, I have a huge thing is, I just had a deal that fell through. I had bidded on the house, or offered on the house, and, the listing agent, I had to call her to find out what was going on after a couple of days. So she told me after I called her that, your offer was low, we went with another buyer.
Okay,
She didn't let you know?
and she, and the agent didn't like, so you, what you're going, so now you're asking me, how do I even approach this with my own buyer, correct? How do I even say? So professionalism, right? We all wanna be professional in our job. You wanna treat others the way that you want to be treated in our profession. And there's some agents out there that are not doing that, right? Number one, if there was, again, legally, they don't have to disclose to you that there was another offer, right? Number two, she should have gotten back to you much sooner than she did, especially if they were moving in another direction, so that you didn't have your buyers. So at that point in time, it's now all about the customer experience, and you have to make sure that you're really talking with your buyer and talking exactly like how Laura earlier was saying. I'm so sorry that this happened. It's not right how it happened. It shouldn't have happened like this. We should have found this out earlier. I did everything in my power to get through to them. However, sometimes there's unprofessional people in our profession, and then this is what happened. However, the next one, we make sure we're gonna get you back out. You always just wanna go back. You wanna apologize for what happened, and then go forward and figure out what's the next step. Like instant, like, okay, when are we gonna go back out? What do we wanna look for? I know you like that style house, so we wanna continue to look for that type of a home in that subdivision, in that area is still where we wanna go. Like, you wanna start getting them thinking about the forward instead of thinking about what they just lost. So it is a very unfortunate situation. It happens every single day, multiple times a day in our profession, that it happens, unfortunately. Renita, do you have something? No. Okay. All right, so we are gonna just zip right through. We are gonna literally finish off. Does anybody have anything else to say about negotiations? Anything? I will tell you that we are actually having a negotiation class. It is going on next Wednesday, the 6th. I'm not teaching it. At 6 p.m. It is Rick Olsiani is teaching it. So yeah. So Rick is going to be teaching a negotiation class to kind of just really dive a little bit further into what we touched upon this morning.
6 p.m.
Yes, there was a request out from numerous people that we should have evening and weekend classes. So in February, we have numerous evening and Saturday classes going to be going on. So
they show up.
Angela, thank you very much for saying that, because that was going to be the next thing out of my mouth. I did post that we listened, we put it on there. If the traffic is lower and there isn't the attendance that needs to be at the classes, then we will no longer be doing further ones. However, we want to make sure that we offer it and put it out there for people.
Is that just an hour?
No, it'll be a good hour and a half, and if I know Rick, it'll probably leave further than that. So, bring your gloves and scarves, because by the time you get out here, it's pretty darn cold.
Just being a mouse in the back of the room.
Yes. If nobody has ever had the pleasantry of learning from Rick Olsiani, he is he's very good at what he does. His scripts are on point. All right, so we are now at close the deal. You guys made it all the way to the closing table. So you're just so close. We're so close to getting paid. We're so close to graduating. We're so close to the end of this. I wanted to just really quickly point out, Cindy came up to me at the break and told me this awesome story, and I wanted to just going back, because I know it's like we're starting over again. We're not going to go super duper into the daily 10-4, but I wanted her to really just share the story, Cindy, that you told me, because it really truly is why it's so important that we're doing what we're doing.
So not the deal that you and I did years ago.
No, I'm not going to talk about that.
Just basically a couple days ago, I called Southwest Airlines to make a reservation for my husband and I. We were going to fly to Texas for a family wedding. And this reservation on the phone was just friendly, and we were just talking, and
I said, is it cold where you're at? And she goes, oh yeah, I'm in Chicago. I said, so am I. She goes, where? I said, Worth. She goes, oh, I used to live in Worth. And so we just had this nice conversation, and by the end of the conversation, I had her full name, her phone number, her email. She's in my database, and I sent her out a card, and I also texted her my card. You know, if she ever knew anyone who was looking to buy or sell or for herself. So, and she was right impressed with it. So now, and I know where she lives. So I sent it out. So I was just thinking about it. So that's it.
Which is awesome, and it's exactly what this is all about. The more people you talk to, the more people you can get engaged into your database, the more times you can touch on them. It's just gonna snowball. You never know when the other person, right? You didn't know, you're just having a conversation, being yourself and talking, and then, whoa, you live in Port, like what? I live in the neighborhood. You're on the phone with an 800 number.
Exactly, pretty much.
So that was a good one. And then you can go ahead and tell the other story. It's in regards to negotiations. So Cindy and I were involved in a deal that was a long time ago, like 10 years probably. It was with her neighbor.
Yep.
So there was an emotional
Very,
connection.
very difficult. The wife was okay, the husband was a little difficult.
Yeah. You were the listing agent. I had a buyer who wanted to come in, offer, and put an offer on the house.
Yeah.
And we probably used every single tactic that we just talked about for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
And what happened?
We were $1,000 apart. Couldn't get it together. And about 6 years later, that neighbor apologized to me. He came, you know, we always sit, my husband and I always say hi to them or whatever, go visit their dog or whatever. And he said, I just want to tell you, he goes, it took me a long time. I realized that I should have taken that deal. He said, and I'm really sorry because we could have got way more for our house then than we could now. And I said, it's no problem. I said, when you're ready again, let me know. And we'll do it again right the next time.
Because there are
Yeah.
sellers that are like that.
Yeah.
And buyers. I had a buyer who was just as headstrong as well.
And you could be right there.
We were
So
so
it was a
close.
cash deal.
And they
It was a cash
just,
deal. Yeah, that was the other thing I kept saying.
oh, now
this is a
that's
cash
really
deal.
great.
Yeah, and then I was so angry at myself because what else could I have done to keep that together?
And myself too. So
Yeah.
here's two agents coming together, right? We want to do a win-win, right?
Yeah.
We're coming together, coming up with every creative way. And it took us a lot to even get to that number that we were at.
Yeah.
And then we still couldn't make it happen. Yeah. So they ended up buying another house.
And mine are still there.
They actually bought another house in Worth, and then I sold that house, and then they
Of
moved to
course
Oak
you
Forest.
did. Good girl, you go girl.
Oh my God, you guys are so funny.
Oh my God. And I just want to say, that was the house that, sometimes I'll take stuff out of my house and put it in someone's house for the staging or whatever. And my husband came home one day and he went through the bedroom and he said, we used to have something, a piece on that wall in the bedroom by the mirror. I go, we did. It's across the street. It looked really great in their kitchen. I tried. Crazy.
All right, so we're gonna go get the head of the game. We're gonna go close on time. Everybody know the percentage of how many houses actually close on time? That's not being on time, that's in the contract. 30%. About, I've heard the, 50, I've heard, 50 to 60%. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, remember earlier how we were talking about expectations. So what are we gonna have a discussion, especially with sellers? I constantly have discussions with sellers about this. Because they think that they have a contract and they're on the phone the next day and they've got movers signed up and lined up and they've got this lined up and they've already called comment to tell them to turn the electricity off, and I mean, they are done with this house, right? We're not going to know until approximately 3 business days prior to the closing if it's actually closing on that time. That is the date that we're all going for. It's our goal to close on time. However, things happen in the industry and sometimes we don't close on time and we have to just be flexible with that. And the moving companies, they understand that because they're dealing with this every single day. So they're frantic because they have to tell the mover, they have to book the mover. The movers know that they're not going to find out about this until a few days before closing because that's the industry that they're in. Smooth process. I actually literally, whenever I finish a negotiation up with other co-agents, I always, like one of the final emails, you know, that after the negotiation's all done and you send them everything signed off and initial, I literally say I look very much forward to having a smooth, successful transaction with you. That is my goal. I want it to be smooth, right? Now, doesn't mean it's going to get a little bit messy sometimes. Here, However, my clients don't need to know about all that messy that's going on, right? We're in an industry where, what was I told? We can't control the uncontrollable, right? We can't control what we can't control. So when we're looking at all of that, we have to make sure that we are staying even keeled. Remember earlier how our emotions were like all the way up to the sky because we're in negotiation? That's exactly what's going to happen throughout the transaction. You're going to go in highs and lows with it. And it's our job just to stay even keel and make it a smooth process for our sellers and our buyers. And then win future business. That's why we're doing all of this. I mean, we want to make sure that they get their house that they want to buy, and they get their house sold that they want to sell. That's our goal. We want to make sure we get a commission check and get paid for all of our time and efforts that we did for them. And then we want to make sure that we are solidifying with them that we are their agent of choice. And we want to win future business, not just from them if they go and sell and buy it later on, but then for them to give us referrals. So the closing time is one of the most impactful times that you can have with your clients to solidify future business with them. All right. So we want to make sure that we're giving them 10+ customer service experience and that we're making a lasting impression for them. So like I said, we're on our way to the closing. So the first part of the real estate sales process is the hard, focused work of making connections, achieving agreements with all of our negotiating skills. And the second part is the wide-eyed, vigilant guardianship of the transaction until it takes it to closing. So we are gonna, what did Laura say earlier? She sinks her teeth in. We're on that ride for 30 to 45 days, and it's a fun ride sometimes. So know the process. Systems equals success. I will be the first to tell you that I've been doing this for 13 years, and I literally am just now putting together like checklists, right? Do you know how many tasks that an agent does within a transaction?
192.
192 tasks. And they're all just swirling around up in Bell's brain. Did I get it? Did I call the appraiser quick? Did I send that email? Did I do it right? Right? Systems. Please don't do what I've been doing. Please start right now, today. Create the system for yourself, for your selling side and your buying side. There are gazillions of checklists out there for free, available to you, that you just need to find and then create as your own. You can go on to KW Connect and find them. You can go on to Pinterest and find them. There is probably thousands on Pinterest. What I like to do is grab 4 or 5. You can go around and ask other maybe agents here if they have one that they'd be willing to share with you. Take them all, create one that's your own.
Where do you put it?
And then
Where do you create it electronically?
Trello.
so
Do Trello.
there is, some people do Trello. However, Trello, what there's going to be, it's going to be part of Command in the next month or so, which is going to be great. I'm a paper girl.
I just created an Evernote. What is Trello?
Trello is the same concept. It's not going to be called Trello. It's like I can't remember. It's transaction management essentially, but it looks a lot like Trello where there's the boards and you can do it where you're at to go to where. I'm a paper girl and file girl. I have my manila files and I have my checklist that I staple right up front.
Valerie.
Check. Everyone does different things.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm little by little getting into time. I don't know this bedroom stuff. However,
You gotta stop killing trees.
I know. So I don't care, but my whole point is that whatever it is,
Harry does the
create
same
system.
thing. He's like, that's what Post-its are for. I'm like, we are gonna use Trello. I'm like,
I'm a fan of Post-its too, so you know.
Great. Well,
It's gonna be within Command in 3 weeks. You're gonna have it available.
Is it free? Or is
Yes.
it free in Command, but not?
it's free. No, it's free.
No, Trello is free.
You can
Trello
purchase.
is free. You can upgrade
Yeah,
it.
you can.
And I'm telling you, even when I was on Ron's team, so we did 240 transactions last year, and we used the free version of Trello for everything. So you basically don't need to upgrade.
A lot of the mega Asian teams, like Ron's team, Lance Logan's team, they all use Trello, so that's why they're putting it within our command
So
system,
in
because
one
it
of
was
the
so much
goals,
used.
like 2 years ago, I can't remember the guy's name, during the summer, he was from New York. He was talking about, there's a, real estate assistant, Max Group Coaching.
Yes.
And he said, even if you're a solo agent, you should take this, because they give you everything. They give you all of the form, they tell you what all the questions should be, and then you can make modifications and do whatever, and that is how I developed my checklist.
So that is called a MAP group coaching. They're usually about $300, and it's sometimes they're 6 weeks, sometimes they're 12
This
weeks.
one's really
That
long
one's-
because it's for the real estate assistant and once a month is an agent call, so,
Yeah, that
but it
one's
was worth every penny.
to create it. So, however, whatever you're going to do for you to make this a smooth transition for you, transaction for you, for here on out, is create a system for yourself for this, okay? You want to seize the golden opportunity, which is the fact that you're making them very happy because they're closing, that their goal is being met. So we want to seize that opportunity of meaning that they're happy. We help them get to this happiness. How do we make sure that we make good business from that? And we want to get paid. So obviously, that's like the main goal here. So sometimes known as settlements, a closing. So they'll also say that they're going to settlement. You'll hear that sometimes. You'll hear a settlement statement. You'll hear that verbiage. That's the final closing paperwork. Sometimes the old school call it a HUD still. Not call it a HUD any longer. Sometimes they'll call it a closing disclosure, a CD. They're an ALTA, you'll hear it being called, those, all these different names, they all mean the same thing. Is that here is the closing packet that happened so that we're going to transfer the property from this person to that person. All right. Now, the contract to close process, remember I talked about those 192 tasks? They all happen within this lovely little diagram. So you start off with your offer, it either gets rejected, it gets countered, or you get accepted. And now we're happy, right? Then after it gets accepted, we go into inspection, right? We're gonna go get your inspection. We're gonna probably negotiate some stuff from that. That gets accepted. Fantastic. Now we're in the acceptance phase. If it gets rejected, we're no longer working with that, and we have to go back to the beginning to write a new offer. But we're gonna go with it, it's actually accepted. So now we have the buyer's attorney, the listing agent's attorney, who is listing attorney, seller. Oh my gosh, sorry. The seller's attorney is the one who's going to pull title. And last year from Kankakee in Bourbonnais, because I have heard that they do not do it that way. Is that right?
Right.
We don't use lawyers.
Yeah, right. So it is a little bit different. We are in this market where we're at. We have an attorney that is going to pull the title and make sure it has a clear title. Then we go into the loan phase of the deal, which is it has to go ahead and get underwritten, and then it has to get funded. We do not want it to get rejected at this point. Really, very, very, very few get all the way to this point before rejection. Usually it gets rejected somewhere before. Every once in a while, something gets through to this point. However, most times once you get to this point, you're going to go to the next. Any other escrow instructions that we're going to have to deal with? Usually there's not as much for us. Closing disclosure, as I told you, that's when they call it an ALTA, they call it a CD, they call it whatever, HUD, they call it whatever. That's what that is. Then we get to the closing, where they're going to schedule the closing. Right now, we're seeing it where it's a minimum of 3 days prior. So you're going to have a minimum, so your seller side, your buyer side will have at least 3 days to prepare for the actual closing date. And then at the day of closing, then we have to actually transfer the funds, meaning that the mortgage has to get gone through right there at the closing, and then whatever down payment that they're bringing, and then the seller goes and takes the proceeds. And then it goes into a legal recording, and then the new owner takes possession. Everybody understand that? Fantastic. Throughout the entire contract to close process, follow up regularly with the closing, title, escrow company, and the loan officer to be sure everything is progressing on schedule. So I myself have a system that I call once a week on my file. So I call all my files that I'm working on, once a week I call on them. Meaning I just check up with the attorney to see what's going on, if I have to contact the loan officer to get an update, and then I contact my clients with that update. That is why you're saying, wow.
No, I said ow.
Okay, I was like, wow, what?
No,
What is
it's
that? So I was like, what?
I was saying hot, but
Oh.
go on. My bad, sorry.
No, that's okay. So you want to create a system around that so that you're making sure that you're staying on top of it so that you're able to let your client know sales side and buy side where they're at in the process. All right. Another tip, both agents should attend the closing to be a resource to their clients and to be sure items, the keys, the codes, the openers, etc., providing access, security, and use of the property are turned over to the buyer. It's also a chance to thank your client and ask for referrals. There are many teams that do not go, I know of, that do not go to their closing. I myself, I think I've missed like a handful of them. If my client is going to be at the closing, I'm pretty much going to be at the closing. That is the way I kind of do it. Now, there are a lot of sellers that I deal with that sign off prior and do everything. I'm not going to go to that closing because I'm not going to just sit and make small talk with the closer. Like, there's no reason for me to be there. So all I'm going to say is if you're going to go to your closing, you're going to take a time to go to the closing, make it effective, right? Are you bringing a client a small gift, a token to say thank you for your business? Are you wanting to take a picture with them so that you can post it on Facebook to show that your client's got a new home? All of those things that you can utilize. So again, yes, there is a final statement and a commission check for you at the end of it. However, if your clients are not going to be there, you can go and pick that up at a later date from the title company, or you can have them mail it as well. So I always want to make sure that the old times, I mean, everybody went to closings back in like 10 years ago. Every single person sat at a closing table for 3 hours and chatted over their coffee about stuff. It's not like that any longer. Very rarely are there two sides actually sitting around a closing table. Most of the time, it's just the buyers there signing off on their package, and then the other attorney.
I would say most attorneys want the sellers.
I pretty much tell all of my sellers do not go to the closing. I don't want them there. I don't want them to say something about a story that happened 20 years ago in the attic, and then all of a sudden it's dire, you know, like I just really the reason. For the buy side, I pretty much go almost every single time to the closing with my buyer. I'm excited for them. They're happy. They usually are hugging you. Like, I mean, who doesn't want to go and get a little bit of joy from that? You don't have to be there for the whole thing. You can go towards the end. I always try to go about an hour in. So if it's closing at 9 o'clock, I'll get there at like 10. Or if you're doing a final walkthrough with them, which a lot of times you're doing your final walkthrough with your buyer right at the closing. So if they're closing at 9, I might do the final walkthrough and it's close to where the house is. I might do the final walkthrough at 8:30 with them. And then they just go right over to the closing. So now it's just, I'm multitasking my time is what I'm doing and making it as efficient as possible. And some people will ask right there and then, do you know of anybody looking to buy or sell right there at the closing table? I always do a thank you so much for your business. I am so grateful for you for supporting my goals this year. And if you know of anybody else that I can be of help to, please let me know. I would be more than happy to help. That's exactly pretty much how I talk to them. Just talk to them and ask. You don't have to be like, do you know anybody that want to buy or sell? Like, you don't have to do that. However, just ask, talk about it. So next, closing checklist again. Buyer agent contract to close checklist, listing agent contract to close checklist. Again, you're going to be able to find these all over the place. You have to create your own that is going to work for you. You're going to see some of them like even have where they have them in here. Like sometimes if you're stuff about escrow, we don't have escrow in Illinois. So obviously if you're going to create your own, don't put in the line escrow in there because very rarely, and if we are doing any sort of escrow for post-possession, the attorneys are handling it and has nothing to do with us as agents. So we don't even really use to know about it. However, you wanna go ahead and look at these checklists that are right here. And at the end of the day, if you just wanna use these for now, then just use these for now until you create your own. But the whole point is to start the system and starting it right now today with the next deal that you have going on. All right. Right along here. We're gonna become a problem solver. Because, as we talked about, stuff always comes up in deals that we're on our way to closing. So, contract to close issues, is on page 20. So these are the things that could possibly go wrong during the inspection and the repair period, which is, right now is 5 business days after you sign the contract. So they have 5 business days to get their repairs and get their inspection done and then their repair costing. How things go wrong. Number 1, surprise findings. Number 2, report is complex or confusing, which is why you should always be pairing yourself up with an inspector that you know and can read clearly what they're inspecting. Number 3, costs and who pays for those costs of those things. The timetable for the repairs to happen and the doubt about the worthiness of the house. So a lot of times, if you have a brand new buyer, especially you guys, and you bring them into an older home, and the inspector is just pointing out every little nook and cranny and every crack and everything, and they have a 72-page report of all the things that are wrong with the house, right? What is that doing to the buyer? They're freaking out. They've never even owned a home before. They don't know how to do nothing. They don't know how to take the screens off the windows to clean them, right? And put them back on. They don't even know that yet, right? They're brand new home buyers. So what is our job to do? Is just calm the storm and talk them through these things. So you might want to give them that expectation before the inspection takes place to let them know, just so you know, remember you love this house, we know you love the charm of the house because it was a little bit older. Because of the home being a little bit older, just be prepared. The inspector's gonna find some stuff. We're gonna go through it. We'll make sure that everything is health and safety is concerned is gonna be taken care of for you. However, everything else, let's just kind of look at that. We already know, to see. So when it comes back, my favorite is about them, is they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, the furnace, they said is 10 years old. Okay, when we walked through the house 4 days ago, the furnace was 10 years old. We could see it. We saw the sticker on it and said the year that it was installed. So why is this why are we having a discussion about this now during the inspection period? And it's your job as the client, especially on the buy side, to explain to them, if the furnace is running properly and there's nothing wrong with the furnace, there's nothing that we're not going to, you take the house as the way it was. That's why you're purchasing it for the price point that you are. It was with that furnace in the home. So you have to make sure that you're setting that expectation out and that you're diffusing some of the situations. My favorite is like, it's like, just the stuff that's like so minuscule. They cost like $3, like, like outlet covers. And I was like, oh, I need a 5-pack from Menards. They cost $1.82. Like we have, sometimes people really get in that nitty gritty, right? Because they're looking at it all, the big huge list, compact, and oh my God, I have to go and do all this stuff. You can live in the house, everything is fine, and let's move forward with what items have to be completed, okay? You can attend your inspection with your clients if you choose to. This is a very gray area, I feel like, right now in our industry. I feel like that there are some people who are going to argue the fact that if you make the appointment for the inspection as the agent, that you should be there then with your client and with the inspector for the inspection. There are other people in the industry who feel that nowhere does anything say that you have to go to the inspection. Nope, it doesn't state it anywhere in our listing agreements. It doesn't say it in license law. It doesn't say it anywhere. So this is how I have been approaching it. I have a discussion. First of all, if I know the inspector that's going, okay, that's going to make a play if I'm going to attend an inspection or not with my buyer. Because if I don't know this inspector from Sunday and I go send them with my buyer into this house for 3 hours, there's a very good chance that this deal is gonna die before I even sneeze, right? Because they're gonna just talk their ear about all the stuff that's wrong with it. I wanna be there to be able to diffuse the situation. And while the inspector is inspecting everything the way he should, be talking to them about where they're gonna put their TV and are they gonna put the couch over here? Oh, you wanna measure? Sure, let's measure and see what window treatments we need. That's what I'm there for. I'm creating that rapport with them. I don't want them just sitting there listening to everything that's going wrong for the next 3 hours. If I know the inspector and I know that that's not what they do, and I can trust them, and some of them actually have, like Central Lock, they have joined and they pay the money and they're able to gain access and they can make the appointment for their own inspection. The other thing I do is you can talk to the listing agent and say, I'm not going to be able to make it to the inspection. The inspector and the buyer are able to be there on, Wednesday at 3 o'clock. I will not be able to be there. Is your seller okay with the inspector who's licensed? And I would give them the information about the inspector who's licensed and on an inspector going in. Most of the time, the listing agent doesn't like it, and they want me to be there as the buyer agent, or I can't be there and we really need to deal to go. I ask the listing agent if they can be there to let them in. Not the listing agent's job. However, we all want a win-win situation. Sometimes they're willing to. It just depends. So it's kind of this gray area. I'm going to be honest with you right now. And one time, I'll have a listing agent that says, sure, go ahead, give the inspector the code, I don't care, and they go and do it. And then the next day, it's, the listing agent freaking out, bless you, because the inspector wants to go and go on their own. So you have to really just kind of, I'm not going to, like I said, there's no law that tells us one way or the other. Be professional and be nice.
His dad was there with them, and then just building relation, like especially if you have a first time buyer, they're not coming to inspect by themselves. They have somebody there with them.
Yep.
And likely a parent who
Yes.
is, they're moving out of their house, and then parents are getting ready to move, and that's exactly, what happened to me the other day.
So you're lead generating at your inspection.
Yeah, and you don't have to follow the inspector around. No inspector wants to, be followed. So sit down and.
It's not your job as an agent to follow the inspector around. Your job is there just to diffuse any situation that might arise or for them to say, point out something that might be right.
I was working, lead generating communication table while they were doing the thing.
It's a great time to get on your Trello. Right. I didn't have your, I just get out my files. After you get past this inspection point, then you're gonna go into the appraisal point. As the buyer's agent, I do not meet the appraiser there. I let the appraiser go in and do the appraisal. If the appraisal comes back lower than what my contract price is, then I'm going to be prepared to fight it with pulling comparables that we found to support that purchase price. And that listing agent should be helping you along with that too, because they want to keep this deal together for their client and get the most money for their house as well. So you should be collectively as the buyer's agent and the listing agent coming together to support that purchase price if you have to fight the appraisal. You want to, if it doesn't come out to the appraisal, we can talk upon this. It's a conventional loan. The buyer can bring additional funds to the closing. Not usually a fan of it. Every once in a while, I've had it done because it was like $1,500 difference. The buyer was like, I'm done. I don't care. $1,500 for the house. I know I'll get the money. I'm going to live there for 10 years. So they're not worried about it, and they'll come up with the additional $1,500. Sometimes it's a bigger amount of money, and nobody can come to an agreement with that. So, next thing, close to contract. Loan approval and funding is the next item that happens after you get through. So you're going to want to make sure that, again, you're going to be talking to your loan officer to see where they're at in the loan process. If it comes back and it freezes out, fantastic. Now it's just a matter of putting the entire package and sending it to the underwriter. And a lot of times the underwriter will come back with conditions that are needed to So when you hear that word and you hear somebody say, oh, I need conditions on the loan, okay, what are the conditions? So if I'm on the listing side and I hear that, I just say like, what kind of conditions are we talking about here? Right? So, because if it's like, oh, we still need their insurance and their pay stub from last week, okay, those are normal conditions. Or is it a condition of they have to pay $10,000 of their student loan payments off for this deal to close? I need to know what kind of condition are we talking about? So that is kind of the next step is when you're in there. Go ahead.
So in a 30-day close, let's go back to what we were doing before. That's kind of my question. In 30-day close, what day is this process?
So when you start the contract, that's a really good question. You have 5 business days to get an inspection and attorney review period. Usually right after that, then you have, I think it's 21 days, I believe, for the contract that they have to apply for the loan and order their appraisal. And then the appraisal comes back, and then they go into underwriting. So I would say this hits usually at about the 3-week mark, because they go back into underwriting, and then it has to be approved, conditionally approved, essentially. And then you're waiting for that to come back. There are some lenders that can do all of this in 16 days. They can do it in 12 days. There's lenders who can do this super fast. What your job is, as the agent, is to set the expectation with your clients that the loan officer or the parent, whoever is working with the lender, is going to be asking you for documents. They're going to ask you, I always joke around, like they're going to ask for everything plus a little slice of your liver, right? Like I always joke around because it's not, I mean, they literally want like everything from you. This process can go very quickly, or it could be drawn out, and it's all dependent on you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, and how quickly you get those documents that they're asking for. So if they're asking you on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock for a copy of your bank statements, and you're able to turn around and pull out that bank statement and email it over to them, the quicker they'll be able to get that into the underwriter, the quicker we'll be able to get you approved for this loan. So we always just want to make sure that we're telling them and setting an expectation. And because I've had some clients that they just they take literally 2 weeks. They think like, oh yeah, sure, I'll get those to you. And it's like a standstill now. We're literally just all in standstill waiting for these bank statements copies, right? So we very much so want to communicate that to our clients, and that's why I said I highly suggest doing weekly updates, because if I call and they tell me we're waiting on the condition of the bank statement from my buyer, I'm going to be on the phone with my buyer saying that he's got off. The only thing we're waiting on is those bank statements. If you could please get those over to the lender, then we'll be able to get you. So then this way, everybody's communicating all across the board. There's the next step is going to be other contingencies. Did the buyer have to sell their house? That deal in the middle of being contingent on sale, contingent on close. It's your job as the agent. If you have a deal, you're on the listing side, and your buyer has a contingency going on, you're making double calls on follow-ups. You're not just following up on what's going on with the buyer, you're following up now with what's going on with the buyer's buyer. Does everyone follow that? I want to know what's going on with the buyer's buyer. It's like a domino effect. I think I've had it one time, it was three back. So it's contingent upon contingent upon contingent. So now I have to go and call 3 different sets. And it's all dependent on this original buyer over here. So as they were selling a condo to buy a single family house, for these people to buy this bigger house. So we want to go backwards. So it was all based on this buyer to buy that condo. So now I was on the phone with property management company, making sure I had nothing to do with this transaction as an agent. However, I have everything to do with this transaction as an agent. Because if this transaction doesn't happen, none of the rest of the items go through. Make sense? So you just want those checklists, I'm telling you, that's why those are good. All right. If you're, they're talking about backup offers here. I'm not a fan of backup offers. I don't really know many people who are a fan of backup offers. On the list side, it doesn't hurt to have a backup offer. It's not going to hurt you. On the buy side, I'm going to still want to go find you a house, because the chances of this actually going through and you getting this deal is probably not going to happen. So you can take that as you will. If it's a short sale or a relocation or an estate, estates are sometimes fun. You want to talk about navigating through some different personalities. You're going to get that a lot with estates. And talk about being emotionally attached, which makes no sense because these people haven't lived there in 40 years. However, they're very much emotionally attached to the house and very, very headstrong. So take on estates, you're gonna definitely put your armor on. That's all I can say about that. And sometimes, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, even though you get the deal to close, a lot of times you're the enemy to begin with. And the reason why is they understand the logic of that they have to sell this estate. But a lot of times it's the parents and they've passed, and it's the children who own the estate, right? And that are doing it. Yes, they know logically that they have to sell this house. However, emotionally, they are 1,000% attached to this house. And because you're selling the house, even though that's what they want, logically, it's almost like you're the enemy because you're taking away their family home and you're selling it. So you just really, really have to be very, very delicate with emotions. And you really do turn into a counselor at the end of the day when it's your own family. And especially when it's your own family. Especially when it's your own family. You really have to keep an even keel and just let them go through the emotion of it all. And just be there for them. All right. Let's see, other agents. You always want to clarify your messages and intentions. You want to own the process yourself and communicate to them. And you want to provide any sort of vendor list and backup list to your clients along with the other agent if they need it. I just had this happen with me. There was an issue I was the listing side. I couldn't find a painter. The buying agent was like, here's my preferred vendor. She was able to get her painter to go out and get it, right? We're both working for the best interest of our clients to make this a win-win situation. We're both working on this together. We need to get an estimate is what they needed. They were repair credit for it. So that's what you want to make sure. You want to make sure that you confirm all your appointments and the progress for your inspection and the repairs that are requested. And you want to make sure that you build in a buyer and seller flexibility with that closing date. Okay. Occupancy is already put onto the contract once it's right. So if you are closing and it says that you are taking possession that day, they take possession that day. If the seller needs post-possession, then they need to disclose that right when we're doing negotiations of the contract. I'm hearing from the attorneys that the attorneys are 100% getting away from post-possession. I'm hearing lots of nightmares about it, so they're literally like doing away with it. Sometimes you have to have it. I mean, sometimes that's just how it works. Again, you're the agent. Be professional. Be kind. Come from contribution and understanding. It is a lot for them to sell a house and buy a house and move all in the same day. It is a lot of coordination that has to go along with that. And all that you can do is just keep helping them get to that point. Offering them vendors, communicate with those vendors and themselves with what's going on with the deal, and just really setting that expectation to them that you're going to have to be out of the house by 10 a.m. for your closing for your sale. However, your purchase isn't going to be until 2 p.m. So yes, the truck is going to have to just sit there waiting for you to close. You might want to get a family member to maybe meet over at the new house so that as soon as you have the closing, then they can get you into the new house so they can start unloading right away. Those are the types of things that you have to kind of just really navigate around. All right? Yes.
What happens when something after all contracts and stuff, like last minute changes with possession? Somebody's deal fell through.
So that has to go through the attorney.
Is this all on the attorneys?
All on the attorneys. So that if it's so you're saying like the sale, say you're the listing agent and you're looking to they're going to purchase something else and that one's getting held back. So now they can't sell their house to the new buyer because they have nowhere to go live, right? So follow that. So you all just have to work together. And that's where I'm saying it's this whole like communication piece and making sure that you're connecting all of these three deals all at the same time to create a win-win situation for everybody. So if you're representing the seller, now there's going to be a couple of things that have to happen. If they they have this, the attorneys, if they can agree to it, they can do post-possession and add that in as an addendum. They can still close, they can still do everything. However, it's the attorneys who are gonna have to write that up and then get the agreements from both sides. And then they'll take on a certain amount of money that they'll put into an escrow account and release it after the possession is turned over. And then they have to pay per day, and it's per the buyer's mortgage payment. So a lot of times the buyer's mortgage payment is much higher than what the seller's mortgage payment was. And so they're paying a per diem. So they take their mortgage payment divided by 30, and for every day that they're still in that house after the closing, they have to write a check out to the buyer. Because they're renting the house from them, essentially. The hardest part about post-possession, to be quite honest, from an agent standpoint is that your job, quote unquote, completed at the closing table, right? The transaction closed, it's completed. The escrow that's being held, the post-possession is being held by the attorney. Okay, and now you're the agent, and guess who they're calling? You're calling you. They're calling you 3 days later. When are they moving? When are they getting out? When can we get our new house? When can we do this? How do we go to? How are we going to know when we can go? How are we going to get the keys? Blah, blah, blah. This is. I mean, it's real life. It's exactly what happens, right? I mean, you know, it's like they're just. Even though they agree to 7 days post. They're on you on day 2. Do you know when they're moving? Because we want to get in there. We got to get some paint. We want to go to blah, 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 right? That's all that they're ready to go. So you're put into a very tough position because there's, again, nothing in legal law that says that we have to go there. I did my final walkthrough with them before their closing. So that the house was filled when I did my final walkthrough with them. So now they have to go do a final walkthrough after they get their possession and make sure there's nothing wrong with the home. Again, I go above and beyond most times for my clients, and I'm the one who's going and getting the keys and picking up the keys and bringing them over to my buyer and so on and getting it all coordinated. That's, again, nobody's telling you you have to do that. I like to go and do the walkthrough as well and see if the house looks the same as it did when we were just there a few days ago with all the stuff in it. Because if there's a crack in the wall or if they smash something, you know, whatever, things happen when people move, right? Then you're going to have to get in touch with the attorney about it. So it becomes very messy when things don't go right. And also, there's been numerous times where there was no problem whatsoever. There was a garage code. I had the agent text me and say, all right, seller's gone, buyer can go. I texted the buyer and said, they're out, go ahead in, here's the garage code. And they went into the new house, opened the garage, went inside, and all their keys were inside. And contacted, emailed the attorney and said everything's good. Possession has been turned over, and then the checks were released. So it could go lots of different ways. All right. Next, I know we're in the home stretch, guys. I'm coming. Agents have 2 agendas. 1, to move the current transaction toward a successful closing, and 2, to ensure referrals. Most agents don't get that. They're both by very little. So that is the main reason why you want to make sure that you're going to your closing is that you are ensuring a referral from them, right? You want to create that. So that's what we're going to see is this golden opportunity. Although the closing process may seem like the end, it is not. It's actually the beginning of another relationship. It's with your next buyer, seller, referral, or your vendor that you have dealt with during that transaction. Providing an excellent customer experience for everyone involved, over communicating, setting and exceeding expectations is the key to seizing this golden opportunity. Remember, you only have one chance to leave a lasting impression. Okay? So how do you guys think that you can leave a lasting impression, specifically with your closings? Somebody needed a closing gift? Thank you card. Thank you card. What else?
Follow up.
Follow up.
Do you need anything?
Yeah. Do you need anything? Yeah. When do you do your follow up?
Week later.
Week of? About a week later? Because usually the next day there are planting. Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of funnier ideas I've seen at a closing table. One of them is a 4-pack of toilet paper that you give to the buyer. You can again go online, Google it, or interested, there's like a little sticker saying you can stick on it. It's like a joke because how many times do they go into a house? They have taken every lick of everything gone, and you're moving in, and what always happens? Someone's got to go to the bathroom, and there's no toilet paper. So you can give them, you know, the 4-pack of toilet paper. Some people give cleaning basket like supplies, like here's like our movement ready. You know, because that's what the first thing they're gonna do is just gonna go in and clean. I myself, and I've gotten really great feedback, and this is another way to help ensure more touches and hopefully get more referrals, is a pizza order. So you can create a pizza order form for your buyer, and you mail it to them right when you know they're clear to close, and it literally email it to them, and it just says, I'm gonna be providing pizza for closing day. Please let me know what day and time you're gonna be moving, and how many people are gonna be there. And then I just order pizza. I found out I find a local pizza place wherever their house is, and then I just order the pizzas, in the pot, and I pay for it, I give them a tip on the phone with my credit card, and then the pizza is delivered to their house. And I have had huge feedback from that, where they're just like, oh my gosh, this was so great. We didn't have to think about anything. You just had it right there. And then I actually had it where like a parent of the person, because they were there helping, like text, they were the one who actually texted me on the side. It was like, that was such a nice gesture. Thank you so much. And I have found it to be cost effective, like about the same as what I'm paying for a closing gift anyways. So just something to think about.
I was just gonna say, that's one of Ron's stories about why he decided about being a real estate agent. Is that I think it was when they bought one of their houses or a family when he was a kid. He remembered the real estate agent pulling up in a nice car, which anybody who knows Ron knows, and brought a bucket of chicken for them.
Yeah.
And that pizza is such an awesome idea.
And if you really want to, you can. I mean, the delivery from yourself is even more so. Where you can do a bucket of chicken, you can do pizza, you can do sub sandwich trays, and you go deliver it that day of, because now you're actually meeting all the people. Because anybody who's moving has people there, family, friends, somebody is there helping them make that transition. And you get to meet all those new people and make an impact. So talk about lead generating. It's good use of an hour.
For me, I do like gift cards, like a thank you card, and then another lady like on my team, she really gets to know her client, and then she does something like special for them, whatever they're into or whatever. And I mean, I wasn't doing gift cards at first, but then they were like, okay, Joy, do the gift cards, and like people posted on Facebook like, look what she gave me, like. So then they're like, oh, she giving out, you know. But it's like it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but just the gesture of, oh, here's a gift card. Like I might do 4 of them, like different restaurants, and then they can go eat like whenever they want. It could just be like Buffalo Wild Wings or something, just something simple, and they like that. So
I do keychains as well. So I buy special keychains that and then at the closing table that I'm there, I just put in the key because I did the final walkthrough, and I kept the key because I brought it to the closing, and I just attach it so that like when everything in the transaction is complete, I'm like, here you go, you know, here's your keys to your home. And they're like, oh, this is for me, you know. It's just some of those little tiny things make a lasting impression. And again, NAR reports, the National Association of Realtors reports that 88% of clients say they would use their real estate agent again. So, right, so we're creating this customer experience for them. They're happy. We're giving them a closing gift. However, only 12% do. Why do you think only 12% use the agent? They give them the key on the cute keychain and send them the pizza on moving day, and they remember you, and everybody's yay, hey, hooray, and then you don't talk to them ever again. And now it's 5 years from now, and they had 3 kids, and they want to go move up to the next house. Do you think they're gonna remember that you gave them that keychain and that pizza 5 years ago? No, they got 3 kids under 5. They're gonna remember you. And last, you stay in touch. So don't be the 76% that loses touch with their past clients. I guess I didn't teach database, but it's like my passion. So please just stay in touch. You probably just heard me say it to Cindy. I sold those people's house, and then I sold it again, and then they bought another house. That's what you want to do. That's how you build a career in this is consistent touching them. Consistent. So follow up. So tokens of appreciation. We just had a discussion, right, about some thank you gifts. Anybody else have any other thank yous that they utilize?
Sometimes I'll do Groupon or living social groups, you can get a better deal. And, usually they have to use it within 3 months, but if I find something they like, whether it's a restaurant or an experience,
Okay.
like someone like bowling, whatever, I'll do that sometimes.
If they have kids, you guys, play on the kids, do something for the kids. Whether it's something for each of their bedrooms, or if it's like, I do a lot of times when they're moving from a condo and a townhouse, and then they go and get a yard, so then I'll give them some yard stuff, some bubbles, and some, sidewalk chalk and things like that. That's like a huge impact gift.
On the listing side, I'll do little certificates for the kids, I'll have a little talk to them that they always have to have their room ready and help find me at some house, so then I'll give a little gift certificate that they help sell the house and a little toy, I find out what they're into.
That's
So they
cute.
get a
Or you can
frame.
even do like a $5 like Overwise or Dunkin' Donuts
Absolutely.
gift card for the
Yeah.
little ones too. They get a biggest gift. That's a really, I actually just saw that's becoming like a really big thing that you have a discussion at your listing appointments and you have it like with the kids as well. I did it with the teenagers. I've never done it with little ones, but I did one of my last listing appointments back in the fall. I literally would call in the teenagers because they kind of pushed them out. We were talking numbers. And I was like, bring them back in here. And I said, let's go ahead and do a quick walk around. Let me see what your bedroom looks like. And walked in and said, okay, you need to do this. It was a teenage boy. I was like, you need to make this stop, smell go away, So, you make it light, you talk to them, and you get them involved in it.
Right.
So,
Right, and then you promise them like, I do the Amazon gift cards, whatever, and then they know that's what they can
iTunes,
afford.
something, exactly. So, the next thing that we're gonna talk about is, sending a customer satisfaction survey. I know myself, this is something I have on my list of 2019 to complete. I know that I was doing some emails, however, you guys, everybody should have some sort of a customer satisfaction survey that goes out to your clients after the fact. That is not you asking the client. You don't want it to be, hi, how did I do? You don't want that conversation. You want to make sure that it's more, where it's coming from an outside source, whether it's this, so there is a page 26. It's right there. It's just basics, right? It's asking, did I deliver on what I promised? Was I accessible for you to contact me? I listened. You're willing to recommend me to others. You would use me again if you needed a real estate agent. If you were in charge of my business, what's one thing that you would change? What did I do well? And include your comments in my marketing materials. So no matter how you're going to do any sort of a survey, you always have to make sure that you ask their permission if you're allowed to utilize that on your marketing side. Also, it's really hard. However, you have to take, you gotta you can't take everything so serious, number one, because a lot of times you are going to bend backwards for somebody, and then you're gonna get a customer survey back that tells you that you were horrible. And you're gonna go, what in the heck could I have done any more for this person? So you have to take it with a grain of salt. Some people you are never going to make happy, no matter what you do. However, take some constructive criticism, see what they're saying, evaluate it, and maybe utilize it. Sometimes I was told a couple of things and I was like, you're right, I need to make some changes with that. And then you just tweak it and make it better for the next time. We're all not perfect, it's okay. What's really great is they're actually utilizing your service. My guess is that they're gonna give you higher marks on other stuff and maybe just a lower mark in maybe one category. And if you start seeing that over and over again, then you know that you need to make a change in that category.
I remember when I was in real estate class, the teacher was like, you have 5 minutes a day to cry it out and be emotional, and the rest of the day, game face on. Because in real estate, you can't be a crybaby. I used to be I'll cry when I did something bad, but I had to get a little tougher skin because if you can't handle it, the remarks they give you, it's well, I thought I was perfect. I'm like, oh no, you're not. So once you learn, and then when they tell you you need to work on this, I'm like, yeah, I do need to be better because I'm a texter and I didn't like talking on the phone. So I probably sucked to some of my past clients. She never wants to talk on the phone. I would communicate, but I wouldn't do it on the phone. It would just be email and text. So I learned, when they would say she was horrible, it wasn't I was really horrible. I had to tweak it, like you said, and get better. But I couldn't cry about it because I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. I don't know how many times I quit. But it's no, you have to take the criticism and get better. But if you cry about it, it's like
You're allowed to.
you'll be 5 minutes.
An hour.
Oh, an hour. 5 minutes. Yeah, because you
Allowed
will.
an hour.
You have to have
Depends on
a
how severe it is,
Right.
5 minutes,
Yes.
15, but never more than that.
No,
Never.
and jump right back into it because I know a lot of people are just starting. You got to jump right back into it, or else you'll be like,
Yeah.
what's the
And the most
Yeah.
thing that I will tell you is that's why you want to ask for their approval and make sure that you can redo it. Because then you do go back. If the minute that you get a negative feedback from somebody, take it in,
Yep.
evaluate it, and then go look at the 17 other people who are giving you raving reviews and say, okay, I understand that this one I might have dropped the ball. Same thing when we lose a deal, right? If I lose a deal, took a listing, didn't sell, expired out, right? I didn't sell it. I could sit here and grovel and think about it and not lose sleep on why it didn't sell and what I could have done differently. All this stuff. At the end of the day, it's built into our business plan, right? It's right in there. There's going to be a fallout. There's going to be a conversion rate. So we know that it's going to happen, accept that it happened, and then just learn from it, right? Learn from it. So does anybody do customer surveys on like a high level? No. Yeah. I know, it needs to get added to that checklist on Trello, Katie, on Trello. Checklist. Not on a paper. So when you're doing your customer service focus, you want to make sure that you're giving them about 10+ customer service throughout the whole transaction. You want to ask for feedback on your service from all the parties involved in the transaction. This is the other thing, not just from your client, but you want to actually ask your attorney. You want to ask the inspector. You want to even ask the other side agents. Ask for feedback, right? You don't know what they're thinking or what they're saying. You might be, a lot of times we're blind to something that's right in front of us, and we just need somebody to point it out to us, right? So if I say like a lot, and nobody ever says email, stop saying like so much, then I'm going to continue to say like a lot, right? It's just the same concept, unless you just don't even realize sometimes what you're doing. Send them a handwritten thank you note as well. I know that I'm not good at this. However, how impactful would it be to send a thank you note to all the parties involved in the transaction? Thank you, Mr. Seller Attorney. Thank you, Mrs. Buyer Attorney. Thank you, Inspector. Thank you for making this a smooth transaction for our clients and making this a win-win situation. Look forward to the next one with you. Simple as that. I do get, there's a couple agents that I work with that they'll send a text or they'll send either a text or an email. And I always like getting that on the other side, so it's nice to give it back.
You know, you could also use that as lead gen.
It
Throw
is.
your card in there and ask if they ever know
For
that
sure.
one, you know.
100%.
So use it for yourself.
Yes, it's definitely lead generation, for sure. They gave you some ideas here, gift baskets, movie tickets, gift certificates, something you know they'll use in the new house, they're relocating something related to the new city. They said they put several business cards inside, just make sure that they have your contact info, and then you just ask for them to keep you in mind for anybody that they know. Keep in touch, put that into your 36 touch program. It should be on your checklist. Make sure you update their new address. So I just got one returned back because I forgot to update the email. Like, I sold them the house. I hope that they don't live there anymore. However, I forgot to update it. So add that to your checklist on your Trello to change your database with the new address. Tokens of appreciation, a nice ways to thank your clients. So you can give them a Just Move postcard and mail it to their family and friends. Did everybody just hear what I just said? So you offer to your client, hey, if you want to go ahead and send me over your address book, I can go ahead and I can mail out a postcard, let them all know that you just moved. I'll put the picture that I took of you guys at the new house, and I'll go ahead and I'll mail it out for you guys and let everyone know that you're moved. So you don't have to worry about doing that yourself. Does everyone understand how impactful what I just did there? Number one, you took something off their to-do list. Number two, it's highlighting just them. I'm gonna take this awesome cute picture that they half the time put on their Christmas card anyways, right? Because they take it off. But right? And I'm gaining all of their addresses, so of their friends and family. So if you can definitely put on there, maybe in the corner, your name and logo, in the back corner, you know, there's lots of things that you can do with that. It's an idea. Book of referrals for local businesses and possible coupons. So now this is, again, you can utilize this with your lead generation. So if you have a buyer, they're going to be closing in an area that you might not know a ton of different things around them, or even if you do know them. Touch base with them. Hey, I got a new buyer coming in the area. I would love to highlight your business. If you have a coupon that I can add to the packet that I'm going to send to them at the day of closing. That's lead generating. You're lead generating to the to the business now. So you're taking care of lead generating, and you're giving yourself some service, giving your clients some value. So almost like you're like the neighborhood watch of neighborhood welcome or man. Housewarming party. This is also a new big thing I've heard of. That same exact thing. You tell them that you're going to provide and have a housewarming party. You'll go ahead and mail out the invitations to all of their people that they want invited to their house. And then you just provide whatever it is, the pizzas or the appetizers. A lot of times I know people who, there's a lot of agents who love to cook, and they go and they do this cooking, and they're there and they're hosting essentially the party in other people's house. I actually hate cooking. People do not want to eat my cooking, so I would never ever do this. However, I will order you a pizza or get you some chicken. Oh, good for that. So play with whatever your strengths are. If you're creative, I know a lot of people who make their own stuff, instead of going on Etsy for the gift, they create it, make it themselves, and then give it to their clients. Again, not my strongest suit, so I just go on Etsy. Getting paid. So you have to turn in your files to our MCA office, Karen and Julia, correctly for you to get paid. So just because you got to the closing table and you gave your buyers, they're so happy and they have their pizzas coming and here's your toilet paper and oh my gosh, and I took the picture and I posted it and everyone knows now that I sold this house. It's so exciting. And you bring in the final closing statement and the check and you hand it in to the front desk and you're like, yes, where's my money? In our office, there's a process that you have to do to make sure that you're getting paid, okay? The first is you have to make sure all the stuff is inside your dot loop, inside your loop. That means that all your paperwork has been signed. If you're on the listing side, it has to be signed off. You have to submit it for review to be signed by our managing broker. You actually have to upload a copy of that final closing statement into there. You need a copy of the MLS of the house that you're selling. It needs to be in that document. Okay?
A copy of the listing?
Uh-huh. Yes. I'll make sure it should, that's technically, word on the street is that it hasn't been as a stickler. However, I'm just telling you what you're supposed to have. If you're on the buyer's side, you need a buyer's agreement signed. And you need the copy of the contract, okay? And then the final statement. Then you also have to submit a green sheet, and that's through your mykw.kw.com. There is usually a green sheets class almost every single month that Karen puts on. If you have a coach, productivity coach, make sure you talk to the productivity coach. They can kind of walk you through it. And then I also have a hyperlink video that gives you step-by-step instructions. It's very simple. However, you just have to put in your pertinent information. Who's the buyer? Who's the seller? How much the contract was for? How much commission did you make? And then any sort of splits or things that have to get paid out of that commission. It goes all in there. All right? So you have to make sure that you're putting all of these in or you will not get a check. So, and then you should have a check within 48 hours. If you've given them direct deposit, then it'll show up in your account. If they give you a paper copy of your check, then you have to come to the office and pick it up. So if it's been a couple days and you turned in a closing and you haven't seen a check, chances are is you don't have the correct stuff in them. Most of the time, the MCA office will get in touch with you and tell you what they need so they can process your check so that you can get your commission. So
do we put the settlement statement in that loop?
I do, because again, I'm the paper girl who holds my files, and I like the statement like in my file as well, so I go and I just scan it in through the
So
computer.
from the closing, when it usually is a check comes back to the office, you take that and you scan it in?
No, so if your check in your final statement is getting mailed in, like you didn't go to the closing, it's getting mailed, the front desk opens it, they'll just upload it to your document. But then you don't-
Normally, I just hand mine to Kyle.
Yeah.
Say, here, Kyle.
It's just if you, I'm crazy and I want that paper settlement statement from the closing in my file, like my paper file. So if I hand it over to the front desk, I'm not getting that paper settlement statement back.
But would they upload it if you did?
Yep, they'll upload it.
They do.
Yep. Now that's going a
That's
little
more
crazy,
paper.
yeah, I'm not gonna go that crazy. So yes, but they'll upload it for you and they'll turn in the check to the MCA office and then they process it. You guys, I just wanna point out right now that I just got through 2 sessions and it's 12:25. And I wasn't looking at that, I'm just saying, wow, this is a lot of information for everybody. So let's go with, are you prepared for your contract to close? Give me some questions, give me some ahas, give me some comments, give me something. I'll give you guys another 6 minutes. Nothing, nobody.
Have you scheduled the final walkthrough? Are you talking about things that you need to do?
No, I was asking, does anybody have anything for this whole contract to close process? Questions?
I'm still stuck.
Okay,
I'm still stuck on the scenario we did with 45 days.
okay,
Okay, and then, you were wanting to close in 30 days. So when you said everything, the multiple offers, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so you decided to accept one of those multiple offers.
okay,
It falls through somewhere down the line. And
Okay.
you know you have to be out by 45 days. How do you help your client with that? To prepare for if everything doesn't go right and we're getting really close to the day that you have to leave.
okay, so who are you representing in that situation?
I am representing the seller.
So you're representing the seller. The seller has a job relocation. They have to leave for 30 days. The buyer, they accepted an offer that said they were going, right, and it was agreed upon at the day of signing that they were gonna close in 30 days. However, it is now day 25. The buyer does not have their clear close because there's some conditions that the underwriter's looking for. And you're saying, what do I do? As the agent, you call your seller and you say, I'm really sorry, there are some conditions that the buyer is having to turn into the underwriter. We talked about this, remember how the goal is to get this closed by the date on the contract. However, there have been some hiccups that happened. We're all getting through them. We will get this deal closed. It's just going to be after the 30 days. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to make some alternative plans. If that means that you have to still leave on the 30th day to get to your new job location, that's completely fine. We'll go ahead and have you contact the attorney. We'll have you pre-sign everything for the closing, and then we'll take care of the closing here on our end. You know, at that time that we can get this on the contract underwritten, and we can get the loan to go through. So you're, again, voice of reason, staying calm, offering solutions to get everybody where they need to be and wherever they need to go. And that's why it is super important to set the expectation when they're signing that contract. So even in that multiple offer situation, and they signed and said yes, that they're accepting the offer, which this one said that they can close in 30 days, the seller needs to understand the goal is to get this closed in 30 days. Everyone will work as diligently as possible to get it closed in 30 days. However, sometimes things happen and closings get moved back for a few days. And if that happens, we'll let you know throughout the process what's going on so that you can let your job know. Make sense? Perfect. Good. Anybody else? No, you're like, so make sure on your action item that you're adding your buyer and seller client to your contact database, like I talked about. Make sure you change their address if you are there already in your database and update that new address. You want to add your allied resources to your database, the lenders, the closing companies, inspectors. There's been many a time where I've been sitting at a closing and I was super impressed with the other side's attorney and then created a relationship with that other attorney right? Like I don't like my attorney for my client, but I like the other side, the way that they communicated and what they did. So make sure that you go ahead and add them to your allied resources, right? Talk about sending them a thank you card as part of your lead generation, contacting them to say thank you. You want to add your business-to-business resources to your database. So again, we're making sure all of these people that we're talking to throughout the whole entire process, the home warranty people, everything, we want to make sure we're adding them. You want to identify a calendar system with reminder capabilities that you'll use, not mail system of 192 tasks to keep track of events and deadlines in the contract to close process. And that's why you need those checklists, whether it is electronic or in paper, to let you know when these deadlines are coming up. When is the AI, attorney review inspection period, up? When is the appraisal period up? Do they have to have a clear close by? Because if they don't have a clear close by that date, you need to make sure your attorney is asking for an extension so that you are compliant with the contract, okay? So you want to prepare the transaction in detail, fill out all your paperwork correctly, and if you have any questions, you can always ask your productivity coach, an ALC member, the MCA, or go to the classes. There's always classes on all these things in our office. So check out the February calendar. They just got it out. I think they posted it online too. There are so many classes coming up. So we have a .Luke class coming up on Monday the 4th in the evening. They have the negotiations class. Oh, I'm sorry, Tuesday they're actually having a buyer agreements class. Wednesday there's a negotiations class. So there's lots and lots of stuff coming up. We have a cloud CMA class coming on Red. We have a cloud CMA Red class going on the 11th in the afternoon. So yes, Kate.
What is John's database class?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with it is creating your database to get ready for command is my thought. I have not confirmed that with him. I would think that that's what it is.
So everything that we have in EDGE is not automatically coming in.
No, it doesn't automatically go to it. You actually have to export it out of EDGE and then import it into command. And I am 99% sure, I'm guessing that that's what John's class is going to be about, is doing that exporting part and creating an easiest way for you to import it in correctly. Okay. So make sure that you time your contracts classes in the Market Center, review and understand all your checklists. Go back, please, and watch that negotiations video, okay? If you haven't yet, from section 10 and a mission, and it's like 28 minutes long, you're gonna get more information, because I know I flew through that, you know, I know we're flying through all of this stuff. You want a time block on your calendar to go through and do all these things. So a couple things. So Monday is graduation. Yay. Ron Wexler is going to be your instructor on Monday. So he's gonna invite you off and bless you off with an awesome, successful business. We are going to have a little bit of celebration, get you guys your certificates for completing Ignite. I very, very, very much appreciate everyone's time and efforts that they're putting in here. This is probably one, I'm going to say it, I think this was our most successful Ignite class that I think we ever had in this Market Center, meaning that all of you guys came, you signed up, you committed, and you actually stayed all the way through. So I very, very much thank you for that. So that is amazing. So good job for all of you. There's been some people asking me if you had to miss a session throughout this Ignite. We have recorded all of our sessions this time. We are going to be launching our first ever virtual Ignite class. It's going to be starting on Saturday, February 9th. And essentially what it's going to be is that they're literally going to see all of these recordings in order virtually. It's going to be coming to them. I will have access to all of the sessions. So if there is a session that you are looking for, that you're like, oh, I missed that one, I would like to see what happened in class that day, let me know and I can get you that session. You can just email me the request. I can email it over to you, the recording. Or if you're kind of like, I remember that session, but I really want to get better at that, or I want to hone in on that skill, or I would like to review it, then just go ahead and let me know as well, and I can get you that as well. We want to make sure that you guys are rocking and rolling. Yes.
Was Monday audio only?
It was. So there was just
I didn't know if it was a VMI.
yeah, no, we did realize it. It was just somebody hit one, like move, the mouse moved, so. Unfortunately, we got it on audio though, so sometimes I don't even know why you wanna look at us walking back and forth. And that was Jamie Black, and she stood over here for most of the day, so you're literally going to see nothing. You would have just looked at this whiteboard the entire time because she talked from over there. So it was kind of funny that it was the audio one, because it doesn't hurt. Barb is going to send out your mission for your mission homework for Monday, so make sure that you go along and do all of that. I am always available to you guys if you ever need anything. You know how to reach me. I have open door hours every single day pretty much, so I post them outside my door for the whole week, so you can always walk by and see when I'm available. Pop in if you need any sort of help. I always tell people text me, it's probably the best way to get me, or come into open door hours. Thank you. Anything else? So you know I like less sleep on this. So. All right, sounds good. Thank you guys so much. Please make sure that you do your thank you. Please make sure that you do the calls that we did not do today in class. So if I would have done the calls for both sessions, we would have been here all the way to the end. However, and then I thought that was kind of good that we did an out loud role play with the exercises. Did you guys like that versus the one-on-ones? You like that? Good. I'm going to bring that more into awesome. And then the last thing I'm going to say is I will be here on Monday. And remember how we talked about like the customer survey? I'm going to be doing our customer survey to all of you about your experiences tonight. So make sure you answer. Thanks, guys. Stay warm. Thank you. This is so fun.
And then trying to get off the expressway. And of course I go to the
Oh, and if anybody wants to buy Super Bowl squares, let me know. They're $10 each.
the sheriff's like, no, I don't want you. I'm like, I know, you have anything else I can use?
Venmo.
Venmo.
Venmo. It's not me though, it's Keller Williams who's accepting it. All right. Thanks. I felt like I was talking way too fast, but so that you're up to get a.
Did you get all your stuff done, or are you now?
So
looking
let
at
me just
you?
remind me of your phone. Congratulations. Just put it right there at the bottom. I'll make sure that you're in. And then, are you in Orland or are you in Woodlawn? Okay. So have you joined the team or are you in? So have you gotten hooked up with Robin over there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Oh, good. Okay, so you're all. You two. Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome. All right, so what I'll do is I'll make sure that they have you on our master list here for Ignite, and then make sure that we'll get you so that they know.
Yeah, because that line.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. All right, thank you. Oh, yeah. I would do an email or a text. Thanks, Beth. Bye. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what you're doing. Have you already called them? So you're going to call them to create.
Karen, stop.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Create the situation or the relationship. And then you're saying you don't want to do it in written notes?
No, it's nice, I'm not happy.
Okay.
Some, I'll send some I don't. If I don't send them every hour, it's just, you know, if they know somebody where it's from. I'll get it.
Right, so you just wanna do an email, so you wanna create, and again, you can go on your, not go on Google, and go on Pinterest, and just say, like, create. You can even take that, like, my experience, create a paragraph of that. And say, I know that you're an awesome, but, you know, you're great in CPA, would love to learn about any other awesome 5-star, you know, vendors that you utilize in your business that I can, you know, talk to my clients about, and if you need anything, please let me know, and I, you know, be honored if you talk to me. I mean, I'm just like, speaking stuff like, and you know, I'd be
So
honored.
it's okay
if
to
you-
send that email.
Oh, gotcha,
Okay.
yeah,
And another thing, I don't know, for sure you've heard of them before.
yes.
Is it okay if you, because you know, they post it on, say, you see, or it's like, fires, you know, or apartments,
Right.
please call me.
Yeah. You're an independent contractor, so you can do everything. The only thing that you have to make sure that you stay on point with is that you're always have to say that you're with Keller Williams.
For sure, yeah.
So it's your name, Keller Williams Usability, and that will go through there. So for me, I join Nextdoor, and then I also send my subdivision like stuff, so they see me, like the mailer, they see me on Nextdoor, they see me on the Facebook page.
Put all your info, your email, your phone, or just one.
I just put my phone number on that one for Nextdoor. I don't know if you can. If you can do more, then do more. I just don't know how much in there. It's not, so that's not like Nextdoor is not, it's not giving you like exact,
Yeah, but it's putting it in.
promotion. It's just, you're just, your name, right? Like, and then you want to touch them another way to promote your business so that when they see your name over here on Nextdoor, they remember that you're in it. Does that make sense? Same thing like with my kids, you know, who supports this, or Bachelor, you know, sponsor this, and then they're gonna say, oh, you're Bachelor, then you just want to link it back. Yeah. All right?
Thank you.
Good, thank you. All right, we'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.
You too.
How are you doing?
Thanks, and yourself? Good. Thanks for asking.